privacy or somehow their integrity was being compromised by having that image published.
Well, I'm less concerned about that photo. I don't know the facts. My concern is the major documents that we know are out there that haven't been released. The 60-count indictment that shows massive financial fraud and foreign interference, the prosecution memo. And look, they put out these Bill Clinton pictures. Well, they're allegations that they're foreign governments that potentially were involved. And that all needs to come out. And it needs to come out in the indictments. It needs to come out in the prosecution memos. But the reality is they put out these pictures for Bill Clinton. Fine, put it all out, but don't distract from the fundamental issue, which is who are these powerful people who visited the Rape Island? I mean, there are 1,200 victims. It defies common sense that it was just Epstein and Maxwell, and they're hiding something. And you know why the American people are so upset? My X account had MAGA supporters supporting me for the first time, saying, you know, Pam Bondi whiffed, according to Susan Wiles. She is breaking the law. She needs to be held accountable.
You're referring to the Vanity Fair quote that the chief of staff gave saying the whiffed, and she said that Pam Bondi gave them binders full of nothingness, and then when it came to the client list, she said it was on her desk. There is no client list, quote, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk. Do you see that as an acknowledgement here, though, that the politics have overtaken the substance?
No, for us, it's about the survivors. And if you look at Thomas Massie and my comments the morning of the release, we were giving Blanche the benefit of the doubt. We said, if it's not all there, fine, just get the information out. It's when the survivors said that this is an insult, this is a slap in their face, that we aren't getting the truth about who these men were on Rape Island, that we started sounding the alarm. And this is more documents of nothingness. And I guess the question the American people have, even to me, is the system so corrupt? Is the system so corrupt that Thomas Massie and you defy the odds, pass a bill through a discharge petition, get the Senate, get the...
Why is this anchor so oppositional? We call that the Barry Weiss effect, baby. I mean, it's already faced the nation. It's usually like pretty fucking pro whatever establishment politics is, regardless of the exchange of power. And she always was kind of like that. But, you know, I'm sure Barry Weiss's editorial control has not helped. If you are noticing a real shift in the way that CBS's news coverage is changing, especially like the big high profile programming like Face the Nation, or as we'll be talking about in a little bit, 60 Minutes, that is directly Barry Weiss's doing.
President to sign it, and still these rich and powerful people are being protected. Who has this kind of hold on our government? What are they hiding? Why are they not releasing this?
Did you just say noticing? What? Noticing? Oh my God, noticing? Yeah, dude, I used noticing, a term that, you know, people use. It doesn't always have to be about, I don't know, some kind of major Jewish conspiracy.
Well, you want what, people involved in those initial investigations down in Florida re-examined and possibly prosecuted?
The fuck are we doing?
I want the information out, which was in that prosecution memo that Acosta disregarded, that were in those
Margaret Brennan is turning into a shill for CBS. I mean, Margaret Brennan always was a bit of a shill. That's why she does this job. But it's kind of like Tony the penis, right? Tony the Koppel, Tony double circ Tony. Like, he was already a dick rider for Israel, right? And then Barry Weiss comes in, editor-in-chief, elevates his profile within CBS. He got promoted, right? He's going to get a triple snip now. I've criticized your interviewing skills, but honestly, your interview with Ro Khanna was much better than this crap, and I mean that and as an objective journalist level. Thank you.
2 counts were prosecuted. I want to know who were these other people who were on the Epstein's rape island? Who were the people who saw young girls being paraded around at parties, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, and didn't say anything? And why is it so hard when there's a law requiring these names to come out? What we're seeing is survivors' names come out, but not the men who abused them. And instead of holding elites accountable,
I like that the way that, I mean, this is a testament to how powerless American Congress is. That you have two congresspersons that were able to write a law, an act in Congress, get the Senate to sign off on it, get the president to sign off on it, and now they have to go on television to literally beg the Department of Justice to follow the letter of the law. Okay? This is not like what are we doing? This is not a suggestion, okay? This is something that is now the law. It's not that complex. The very fact that there is any back and forth on this whatsoever blows my fucking mind. It doesn't make any sense. Trump, as president, signed it into law. What more do we want here? What more can we do here? What do you think about the Squirrel's reaction to your Ro Khanna interview? Brother, come on. You just want... Oh, my fucking Lord. Oh, my God. Oh. Who cares? Please, 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 please.
What are we watching?
Last week, I argued my 5th case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Last week...
Oh, nope. Shut up, you. Oh, it's just me. Yay! Oh god, I'm not watching Rahm Emanuel. Not happening. Ugh. Hate that douchebag. Oh crap, wrong button. Talking to myself. Talking to myself. Okay. Yeah, I'm tired already. Ooh. Probably get a video started. Probably be a good idea. Maybe. I don't know what I'm looking for. My brain hurts. Yeah, I'm tired already. It's gonna be a short stream. Short stream. Okay, that's good. Good mix. Put that there. Put that there. Put that there. Yeah, there we go. What? Who's? Why do I get like so many messages?
I argued my 5th case before the U.S. Supreme Court. And as I prepared, I was surprised that I came across a conservative legal doctrine that may just help us in the fight for free and fair
extremely early. Yes. And I'm on extremely Monday.
Why I'm so excited about
What's up, man?
and how
Welcome
we
back.
all need to be open to new ideas as we build a pro-democracy movement. I promise you, it's gonna
my
be
finals
a
were
journey
last
with some
week,
surprises,
so
and you won't want to miss this.
I have like
But first, make sure you're subscribed.
I have like 4 weeks off until spring semester starts.
Do to protect democracy. All right,
So I get to stream on the weekdays. How'd you do? 3 A's and 1 B.
100,000 of them go to the Court of Appeals, and about 7,000 or so seek review in the U.S. Supreme Court. But here's the thing: the Supreme Court, they get to choose what cases they hear, and typically they only decide.
I thought so. Although the only reason I got a B is because I did really bad on the final. I was sitting on an A in that class, and I did bad on the final. It dropped me to a B.
Finance case in which the Republican Party is trying to strike down a limit on big money in politics that they have tried and failed to strike down before. I'm not going to bore you with all of the ins and outs, but suffice to say, it is a core pillar of the campaign finance laws. And as I mentioned,
I was streaming on
a project of the Republican Party
Friday. Oh man, I think I was on Friday. That's what I missed.
They failed in the mid-90s when the Supreme Court first heard this. They failed again in 2001 when the Supreme Court ruled specifically that the provision in question was constitutional. But here we are in 2025, and the Republican Party is back.
My brain's not working right now because I'm already tired.
And so,
like, I literally decided to start streaming like an hour ago. I was like, I'll hop on around 5:30 or so. And then, like, as soon as I started getting everything set up, I started yawning. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Laws and rules, but you got to do much more than that, because the justices on the Supreme Court, well, they can ask you about just about anything. They don't just ask you about this.
I didn't even know you were going to be on here. I just happened to start with the video about Supreme Court stuff, so you might be interested.
As I was preparing, I found myself wandering through all of the recent constitutional law doctrines adopted by the conservative Supreme Court. And one of those strands, one of the branches of that tree, so to speak, are a series of pro-gun cases. I know, you're wondering what the hell
more strange than usual?
Or pro-gun jurisprudence have to do with campaign?
I don't know. It kind of feels like par for the course.
And one
it's
of
like,
the reasons why I started Democracy
it's like they're,
2020 was to keep you informed.
Was it the boiled frog effect?
Different branches come together. How law in one area, law in one state, a legal challenge here, and an action there might all affect democracy.
Stupid
so if you
chair,
haven't
shut
already,
up.
Take this opportunity to join Democracy Docket as either a free subscriber or a paying member. The link to both are in the description below. All right, so as I mentioned, I found myself looking at a series of cases that essentially re-established, after a long period of time, an individual right to bear arms. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a debate about whether or not these cases are right or they're wrong. You might imagine I don't agree with where the Supreme Court came out on this. But it's a very important series of cases because it's something that the conservative justices care a lot
I
about.
only assuming they're regretting an early decision trying to roll them back with the constitutionality majority judicial
what I
doctrine
realized is
rather than
it
articles.
opens up a different way to understand the Constitution. Now again, I'm not here to say that I agree with them.
It felt like
that the Second Amendment
none of them,
confers an individual
at least none of the
right,
conservative
what the
ones,
scope of that right is.
paid attention
But
to
I
like
am
current
here to
events,
say that some of
and they were
their
so
reasoning, some of what they
hell bent
articulate
on this unitary executive
I quite
theory that they
appreciate.
didn't
So let me
realize
start
that
with the thing I most
they
agree
were
with. Justice Alito,
enacting
one of
that
the most
goal
conservative
with a
justices on the Supreme
authoritarian
Court, wrote in
administration.
that there are no
You know what I mean?
second-class constitutional rights. One that is, quote, subject to an entirely different body of rules, close quote, than the others guaranteed by the Bill of Rights.
It's like they were
Built upon a notion
they were
first
instituting
articulated
this
by another very
unitary
conservative
executive
Supreme Court justice,
agenda
Justice Scalia, who
with
rejected also in a gun case, sort of a seminal gun case,
with the
notion
assumption that
courts should have, quote, the power to decide on a
any
case-by-case basis whether the right
and
is
like the
really
current president was acting in good faith. Like, yeah, I totally love the democracy. I'm totally not grifting everyone.
Why do I find this so interesting? Because in fact, the right that is most often
technically is in
treated
theory
as a
the issues that the
second-class
president is supposed to have lawmaking
right,
powers,
the
the
right
ability to
that
use
is
full power of
most
the office,
often
legally power making standards.
subject
Yeah.
to entirely different body
And like there's a
rules
reason they set up these
than the other
agencies
rights.
when they were first enacted to have
the right that courts
you know,
are oftentimes given the
executive
power to decide on a
oversight,
case-by-case basis whether the
but
right is really
not to just like not for the president to just like
And
dangle
I have
every
been
single
railing
employee in the
against that
office like a
jurisprudence
puppet, you know what I
for
mean?
years. I have been urging you all to call your legislators, to call your state legislators, to call your members of Congress and
How many
insist
years ago
that
was
the
it
right to vote
that
be
the
upgraded to first-class status.
they recognized it was
Now, I've
important
done it in a
not
lot
to
of different
reward
ways. Sometimes it's something that I think we
like
need to
nepotism,
protect
you know, within
Congress
government
through
agencies?
the Freedom to Vote Act or the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advantage
Not necessarily nepotism, but
or the
you know what I
Freedom
mean.
People Act, right? These are all federal laws that were introduced in a Democratic Congress, in which no Republican in the House supported, every Democrat in the House supported, and then when it got to the Senate, Democrats tried to
Like
push
I think
it through, but because
I
of
think the last
filibuster,
big
they don't.
instance that we saw
Other times I have said to
like we
you,
understood
you
the
need to
importance of
enshrine
having
this in
someone
state
qualified
law.
in that position was
That,
during
we
Katrina
can't just count on
when Bush
Congress
had
to do it.
appointed somebody
So
that
one
was
way
like
I've said to go about this is,
he was
let's
like the
just pass a
manager of
law
like
in
a
blue
horse
states.
stable
But
or something like
honestly,
that.
it shouldn't take laws in blue
The
states.
the
It
head of
shouldn't
FEMA.
take Congress passing
I don't
a
remember
law.
his name,
This
but you can look it
should
up.
be a matter of
He was either like
constitutional
he either owned like a horse race
constitutional interpretation.
track or he
Because
was like
as the Supreme Court
stabled
ruled
horse
more than
race horses.
60
I don't remember
years
which
ago,
or something to
the
that
right
that
to
effect.
exercise the franchise in a
But he was a
free
friend of
and
the family,
unimpaired
so
manner
you know,
is
head of FEMA.
preservative of
And we saw what
other
happened with
rights,
Katrina.
civil and political rights. And any infringement on the right to vote, quote, must be carefully and meticulously scrutinized. But we've seen a backslide.
Oh, that was the point of the president. There's someone to blame.
Instead,
The executive branch
the
is something wrong, but
conservative
Congress can simply lay out the
led
process
by
the
the
executive has to
conservative
follow, and then
Supreme
boom, president can't do much.
has
They
in
become
fact
an inferior
said
officer.
that the right to vote is a second-class right. While other rights, as the conservatives have insisted, including the right to own guns, is
Crap,
nearly
I have to start
absolute.
this video over.
Restricting voting
I totally like,
rights
I zoned
has
out
been
for a few
subject
minutes.
to exactly the kind
Oh my
of
god,
balance
7 minutes went by? Holy crap. Sorry. My bad.
Last week, I
My fault.
argued my 5th case before the U.S. Supreme Court. And as I prepared, I was surprised
I basically
that I
heard
came
like
across
2 sentences in that
conservative
7
legal
minutes. That was all I
doctrine
processed.
That may just help us in the fight for free and fair elections. In this episode, I'll walk through what I found, why I'm so excited about it, and how we all need to be open to new
oh my
ideas
gosh,
as we build a pro-democracy movement.
I can't wait until I get a little bit of money saved up so I can get a third screen. I keep having to alt-tab between my OBS and my my video, and it's really frustrating. The power of oversight lies in delegation, and if you understand how executive power works and probably checking it through legitimate means, it. Yeah, and also that's also accounting for good faith actors on those that are supposed to be checking the power. You know, if you got if the congressional majority is just a executive sycophant, then there is no check. Oh, well, Congress isn't always good faith. Yeah. So that's freaking slog, man. Like, I think I feel like there should be 2 requirements for Congress. Is that I'm trying to think. First of all, if they don't, I like the parliamentary system where if they don't agree on a budget, everyone gets voted. They have new elections. We remove the state checks on that. I like that system where if they don't approve a budget, there's new elections, because obviously they're worthless. I like that. The second one is not necessarily that they have to pass a certain amount of legislation within a given period of time, but I think that there should be a requirement to at least have votes on the House or the Senate floor every so often, even if it's on like a single issue. You know what I mean? Like if they go like freaking how many discharge petitions have there been? Because Mike Johnson can't take his tongue out of Trump's ass long enough to put a vote to the floor. You know what I mean? Like, that's absurd. Like, that's your job, is to put legislation on the floor to be voted on, and he's not doing it. Unless it's the, what was the last one? The, Condemn Anti-Semitism Act, or whatever it was. Where it basically said that it's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel, you know? Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit, you know? Like, wow, what a great use of our taxpayer dollars. I think they should be forced to actually review laws and have them follow the lawmaking process where they have to go over each individual word like they did before, instead of having staffers write it. They do a bunch of yeah. And on top of that, with the one exception being the budget, because there's so much crap in there, there should be a limit to how many additions, not changes, but additions can be made. You know how they'll like the reason the PACT Act that got passed in 2022, how it was like they kept like it kept just being stalled because they kept trying to like put it into other bills and it wasn't getting approved. You know what I mean? So like they should, an instance like that, there should be a limit to how much stuff you can add to a bill as it's going through committee. You know what I mean? Read the annals of Congress. They're literally crafting the law, every word and phrase. Yeah, and frickin' so again, like honestly, like I think that every single one of our issues at a federal level, every single one, executive, legislative, judicial, every single one can be traced back to special interest groups and lobbying. And which the Citizens United decision just made it worse. I think that at the root, I think that is the foundational problem. That's my opinion. August 1st, 1789 when the Bill of Rights was being debated, and they went over each phrase and proposed alternatives. Arguments were valid. Also, the people becoming uninterested in governing themselves. So, that's intentional. You know that, right? The people becoming uninterested, like that is intentional on the part of legislators, not just today, but in the past. Like that is absolutely intentional. Because like, how widespread is it that like people feel was it 40% of those eligible to vote don't? You know what I mean? Well, look what they did once they had control of the Department of Education. Well, I don't. That's because each state still had oversight on the specifics of the curriculum. You know what I mean? like the federal government telling the states that they have to teach, I don't know, history, right? What book they use is up to the state, you know? So I don't think that, and plus the main purpose of the Department of Education was, yeah, it had like a broad spectrum of requirements, you know, so that there was what's the word I'm looking for? Consistency, you know, across all the states. But primarily they just like doled out funding for schools, you know. Funding increased, but they got a lot of history and teaching how the system works, and then states neglect the system even more. Yeah, oh yeah, that's actually yeah, I've always been a proponent, not always, since I started like really getting into politics. I've always been a proponent of making civics as part of the required curriculum. You know what I mean? Like, when did they stop doing that? That was around the 80s, wasn't it? When they stopped making civics a requirement? I think. I'm not sure. Department of Education gets college choice and used funding to choose what was taught, even though they were told not. Can you give me an example of that happening? Common Core was one. My state didn't want it. Well, yeah, because okay, so I'm willing to concede that the system could have been improved, but there needs to be a standardized baseline across all the states, right? Because if you are graduating from a school in Ohio, a high school in Ohio, and you want to go to a school in Arizona, then there should be like a baseline of curriculum so that you're not completely caught off guard when you go to another state, and their curriculum was drastically different. So there has to be a baseline, and you know for a fact that we're seeing it, you know, within the last, you know, 8 to 10 years, is like a more active and in-your-face effort to basically make students dumber, right? Especially in states like Florida. Like, oh, CRT, critical race theory. Like, no, douche nozzle. We're teaching that slavery was bad. Like, it's so blatantly ridiculous, you know. And you got to remember that uh, the less education a person has, the more susceptible they are to propaganda tactics, you know? So if there is a candidate or a party that relies on propaganda, or I should say, not necessarily propaganda, because there is good propaganda too, but like nefarious propaganda, if they rely on that as their main method of advertisement, then they need the population to be as stupid as humanly possible so that it works. They don't want people with critical thinking skills. Oh, wait. Oh. Check. I was chit-chatting. I think some states have specialized interests. Some are farming, some aren't, as an example. Yeah, like that actually makes sense if but again, that's something that should be optional. Like, you know how there's some high schools that actually have like a skills trade? So like you'll go 9th and 10th grade with everybody, or I'm sorry, yeah, 9th and 10th grade, then like 11th and 12th is you have like the basics, but like all of your electives are around like skilled trades. You know, like electrician, plumbing, you know, all that like home repair stuff, auto mechanic stuff like that. And if you're living out in Nebraska and your family does farming as a career, as a way of living, then yeah, there should be that option available too. But again, it all starts with a common baseline, you know. I didn't say They didn't, but we need to stop playing games. When we set the floor we need to design that's actually designed for it. We're using a spending clause for something it was designed for. We need draft new articles, new systems, federal floor to be put in place without infringing on states' dual sovereignty. Some are optional. Learning, heat, illnesses in Arizona, tornado preparation, tornado alley aren't optional. So, I look at it this way. You're talking about without infringing on a state's dual sovereignty. So I look at it this way. Like, there are things that people can do that would cause a higher level of government to infringe on their sovereignty. You know, if they do some dumb shit, right? You're going to get fined. You're going to go to jail, depending on the severity of it. And I think states should be held to the same standard, right? If they're going to be doing some dumb shit, like if they're going to start implementing all of these like voter suppression laws with the sole intention, not stated, but with the underlying intention of discriminating against other races, then yeah, they should be frickin' punished. Absolutely. Like, their sovereignty should be frickin' questioned if they're gonna do some dumb shit like that. You know? Fuck them. Well, the federal government isn't a higher form of government. It is a co-sovereign, hence why we call the federal government. Why it possesses only some national powers. Again, if the state's gonna do some dumb shit, fuck around and find out, you know? Your own businesses after 300 years of being enslaved and segregated. Ho! Thanks, Florida. No, fuck that, dude. Like, I don't have time for all like the Roy Cohn School of Law bullshit when it comes to this. You know? Like I've completely run out of patience, you know? Like, is it really that difficult for you know, states to just, like, I don't know, like, not discriminate against people? Like, you know? Like, good job, Oklahoma. Good job going from, like, 14th in the country to 50th in the 2 decades that you've been run by Republicans. Good freaking job. So proud of you. And plus, like, if the federal government really had that much control over a state's education, you would not see such a drastic shift in education quality like I just mentioned with Oklahoma. All the states would be relatively similar, and there shouldn't be that much, you know, back and forth in terms of quality of education, because they would be adhering to the same standard. And the fact that so drastic of a change can take place over a relatively short period of time shows that they really didn't have their thumb on the scale that much. Regardless of what words are written on a piece of paper.
I promise you, it's gonna be a journey with some surprises, and you won't want to miss this. But first, make sure you're subscribed to Democracy.
To amend the Constitution for the federal government states doesn't have a general police protection. All right, so every year should be some baseline, but to an extent. Yeah, there should be a baseline, but only to an extent. Absolutely.
And about 7,000
the common people of the region can govern themselves, provided they respect the protections. Which had all citizens and the rights God gave them. Some people don't believe in God.
And so I had the opportunity to argue one of those cases.
Shit, what was I doing?
Finance case
I think I was leveling up my shit.
Party is trying to undo, trying to strike
what was I working on?
A limit on
that done?
Money in politics that they have
That's
tried
done.
and failed to strike
that done?
Before. I'm not going to bore you with all the ins and outs, but suffice to say, it is a core pillar of the campaign.
Oh, that's right. I don't.
And as I mentioned, it has been a project of the Republican Party that goes all the way back to the late 1980s to to strike down this particular provision. They failed in the 90s when the Supreme Court first heard this. They failed again in 2001
good old
when the Supreme Court
Inara
ruled
Elite
specifically
Database.
that the provision
Blueprints
in
and
question was
upgrades.
constitutional.
Thrusters.
But here we are in 2025.
Where to get my
and the
thrusters?
Republican Party is back once again.
Core
trying to strike
internal.
it. And so as I prepared to argue this
Is
case
it clean?
in the
Clean.
Supreme Court, I had a lot to do. You know, you got to read all of the precedent. I got to
second.
refamiliarize myself with all of
I don't
the
know where these are.
finance laws and rules.
Natural
And you gotta
rights,
do
whatever.
much
Gotta
more
be
than that,
nitpicky when you know what I
because
mean.
the justices on the Supreme Court,
Yeah,
they
I
can
trust me.
ask you about just about anything. You know, they
I
don't just
intentionally
ask you
did that.
about this case.
I
They
focused
ask you
on
how it interacts with
one
other
little
cases,
minutia
other legal doctrines.
as a
So as I was preparing,
as a means of
I found
deflection.
myself
I
wondering
absolutely did that on purpose.
all of the recent constitutional law doctrines adopted by the conservative Supreme Court. And one of those strands, one of the branches of that tree, so to speak, are a series of pro-gun.
I'm just like,
I know you're wondering.
I'm just like so sick of just seeing
pro-gun jurisprudence
the
have
current
pro-gun
administration.
jurisprudence. The answer is a lot more than you might think. And you know,
Like,
one of the reasons why I
the
started
fact that he
Democracy
wasn't
Now!
held accountable
was
for
to keep you
any of the
informed
illegal shit that he
about
did.
how all of these different branches,
The fact that the
how law in
Congress
one
is just
area,
like
law in
completely
one
bending
state,
over
legal challenge here, and an action there might
whenever
all
he wants
affect
something,
democracy.
until recently.
So if you haven't already, take this opportunity
And
to
the fact that
join
the
Democracy Docket
judicial
as either a
branch,
free
like,
subscriber or a paying member. The link to both are in the
I don't
description.
know, dude. Like,
All
they're
right, so as I mentioned, I found myself looking
They're like-
at a series of
they're like
cases
writing some like
that
Silmarillion like
established after a
length
long period of time, an individual
decisions
right
just to frickin'
Now, I'm not going to turn this into a debate about whether or not
just to say that
this is
Texas can
right
racially
or
gerrymander.
wrong.
Like,
You might imagine I don't agree with
it's
where
so
the Supreme Court came
ridiculous.
out on
I'm
this,
just frustrated,
but
man.
it's
Like,
a very important series of cases.
I'm just-
because it's something that the conservative justices
it's like
care a lot
I
about.
actually thought that
Advancing
like
majority on
most
the
people
court.
in this country
And
wanted,
what I realized is it opens up a
you know,
different
like a
way to
functioning
understand
democracy,
the
and
Constitution. Now again,
I think
I'm not here to say
my
that I agree
worldview
with
is cracking.
that, that the
you know?
Second Amendment confers
And you know what? Maybe
right,
most people do,
the scope of that right is.
but the
What I
ones
am
that get
here
into
to say
power clearly do
that
not.
Some of their reasoning, some of what they articulate in this area.
Like,
quite
I
agree.
honestly will
So
not
let
be
me start with the
satisfied
thing I
until
most agree with. Justice Alito,
every
one of the most
single dollar of
conservative
wealth
justices in
over
Congress,
$1 billion
wrote
is
in
taxed at
one of
100%.
these opinions that
That's
there
what we
are no
need.
second-class constitutional rights.
You get
One
to $1
that is,
billion,
quote, subject to an
congratulations. Every
entirely
dollar
different body
of wealth
rules
over that, and I mean wealth, not
than the
income,
others
wealth,
guaranteed
is
by
taxed
law.
100%.
He built upon a notion
That's what we
first
need.
articulated by another very
It's
conservative
absolutely absurd that like
Supreme Court justice,
3
Justice
people have
Scalia,
more wealth than
who
60% of the
rejected
country.
also
You know,
in a gun case,
no
sort of a
excuse for
seminal
that.
gun case, the notion that courts should have, quote, the power
It's
to
frickin'-
decide on a case-by-case basis.
I'm sure you guys have played the
whether
game
right
Monopoly.
is really worth
You
the
start out
decision.
with what, 6 people maybe, if you
Why
ever
do
have
I
a game with
say
6
this?
people.
Why do I find this
And right now
Because
we're at
in
the
fact,
round where there's 3
the
people
right
left,
that is most
and 1
often
person has
treated
Boardwalk
as
and
a
Park
second-class
Place.
right.
That's where we're at.
The right that is most often subject to an entirely different body of rules than the other rights in the Bill of Rights. The right that courts are oftentimes given the power to decide on a case-by-case basis whether the right is really
Letting the
worth
court decide the
insisting
laws
on
got us
is
into this mess.
the right to vote.
Yeah,
And
I agree that's part of it.
railing against that
But again,
jurisprudence.
I think every problem can be
I
traced
have
back
been
to
urging you all to call your legislators,
lobbying and
to call your
finances,
state
uh,
legislators, to call your members of Congress and insist
campaign
that the
financing,
right to vote
all of it.
be upgraded to first-class status. Now, I've done it in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's something that I think we need to protect in Congress.
Okay,
through
where do I
the
find
Freedom
these
to Vote
frickin'?
Act, or the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, or the For the People Act. Right? These are all
People wouldn't be
federal
scrambling to grab
laws
federal
that were
wheels.
introduced in
They
the
could simply
Democratic
govern themselves, but
Congress,
it affects all of
in
us
which
now
no
due to the court.
Republican in the House supported. Every Democrat in
Yeah,
the
like
House
I told you what
supported.
my
And then when it got to the Senate, Democrats tried to push it through.
what's
because of
my
the filibuster, they were not able to.
what's the word I'm looking for?
Other times I have said to you,
Like
we need to
initiating
enshrine
event
this in state law.
that caused me to
And, you know,
become
we
like
can't just count on Congress to do this. So one way I've said to go about this
like,
is
interested in political
blue
stuff,
states.
and that was
But
the
honestly,
Dobbs
it
decision.
shouldn't take laws in blue states. It
'Cause,
shouldn't
like,
take Congress passing a law. This
You know, I got
should be
3
a
women in
matter
my
of
family, and I was like,
constitutional
you
importance
motherfuckers,
and
like,
constitutional
you're
interpretation.
seriously gonna tell
Because
like
as the Supreme Court wrote,
like some of these states are like,
ago,
you get a, you know, tubal pregnancy. Well, sucks to suck. You know, shouldn't have been born female.
Political rights. And any infringement on the right to vote, quote, must be carefully and meticulously scrutinized. But we've seen a backsliding. Instead, the conservative courts, led by the conservative Supreme Court, has
I was looking for
in fact
engineers.
said
Stop distracting me.
that
Looking for
the
engineers.
right to vote is a second-class right. While other rights, as the conservatives have insisted, including the right to own guns, is nearly absolute.
What happened to local Dadman? I thought he was in here.
Restricting voting rights
Did we drown him out?
has
Did we
been
ignore him?
subject to exactly the kind of balancing
Who's messaging me now?
that
What the
Justice
hell?
Alito and Justice Scalia complained about. When it comes to voting rights, courts are told to balance the burden on voters against the benefit to the state. So whereas other constitutional rights are not balanced against how convenient it is to the state, right? We don't talk about the right to freedom of speech and say, well, is that speech really worth it when you consider how much trouble it'll cause the state? No, we don't do that.
Colonia. I don't want to go
We
to
don't do that with
Colonia.
freedom of assembly. We don't do
No.
that with the right to a jury. And we don't do it with the right to own and bear arms. Thanks to this conservative Supreme Court. Because they said in the context of the Second Amendment, you cannot balance that right. You cannot give judges the ability to decide whether exercising the right is really worth it when compared to the benefits in
All three
But
of the
yet,
engineers I
under
need,
the court's
I have to do like a
interpretation of voting
stupid
rights,
amount of
that's
traveling to
exactly
unlock them. That is frustrating.
I think that's wrong.
We're supposed to have a
I think-
unitary executive.
And as I mentioned, it
Oh, I
used
missed
to
it.
not be the case. So,
You
what
said
I
it's
am
supposed to have a
arguing,
unitary
what
executive
I
is
am
accountable to its other
suggesting
branches.
is that
Discretion is
this
removed by
light bulb
Congress,
that
and the
went
actual
off in my
execution
head,
of the laws are reviewed by Congress.
this
Courts-
idea that
President's power
we can
cannot
build
make
upon
laws.
something
They
that
cannot do much with the
conservatives
militia system. They
have
cannot
identified.
use the military's law for enforcement without
Nowhere
congressional
does it
permission.
have more application than here. Nowhere should it have more application.
The issue is the president has
in
permanent
the
control
right.
over the militia,
Now,
makes law of executive agencies,
what the
and Congress so
conservative
weak
lawyers
because it gave all its power.
here's what they will
One party
tell
benefits
you
from
is
it.
different about the right to vote than the right to own.
Ugh, deja vu. I feel like we've had this conversation
They'll say,
before.
well, look, the Constitution is explicit about gun rights through the Second Amendment, while it's largely silent on the right to vote. So they'll say, Mark, you misread the Alito quote, because he was talking about rights guaranteed in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights or elsewhere. I think that that's a bunch of nonsense. Because here's the deal. For the bulk of our nation's history, the right to bear arms was not understood to be an individual right. Rather, it was viewed as qualified by the amendment's opening clause, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, right? That's how the Second Amendment begins. And while there's no standalone right to vote in the Constitution, there is Article 1, which includes the elections clause, right? So it clearly contemplates we're going to have elections. And if we're going to have elections, there's going to be a right to vote. And then, of course, there is the matter of the 15th, 17th, 19th, and 26th Amendments. The 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote to black men. The 17th Amendment guaranteed the right
Oh, well,
to vote for
eventually,
everyone
I'm sure I
who
remember it.
came to their
I do
state.
remember it.
Senators
I just like bitching about it
popularly elected.
because
The
I think
19th
there's a
Amendment
lot of
guaranteed the right
fucked
of
up
women
things.
to be able to vote. And the 26th Amendment lowered the age of
Yeah,
voting
I agree with your previous comment about
Guaranteed
the issue is
of people who are 18. All of those specifically
how much
reference the right to vote.
control the executive branch has
None of them have
because
this
of,
kind of
you know,
qualified
capitulation
clause
and
like the Second Amendment does.
judicial
this court
lawmaking.
Has not taken from those
I think we both agree on that. I think so.
a right to vote that is a first-class right. You also have the 24th Amendment's ban on poll taxes, which were used as a way of restricting voting rights.
I'll pretty much like
So you have the 24th Amendment,
my
you have the 26th Amendment, and in the middle of that,
my
you
voting
have the Supreme Court
choice,
talking about
like whether it's a primary
how
or general,
any infringement on the right
is
to vote, quote,
whatever
must be
candidate
carefully and meticulously
refuses to take
scrutinized
PAC money
because
or money
the
from corporate
right
interests
to vote in a, quote,
and
unimpaired manner
says that they want to pass legislation to restrict campaign finance, they got my vote.
It sure seems to me that the understanding of the Constitution through history, including in the most recent amendments, was a unrestricted right to vote.
It's nice to have each executive willing when they're checked and restrained like they're supposed to be, the energetic executive stuff.
The other thing that the conservatives will say is that
I'm not even a fan of executive orders. Like, I'm not really a fan. And yeah, I know FDR used a shitload of them, but
voting, though they would acknowledge it exists,
and I would argue that his usage of them was more was intended to actually help people,
and so you can't expand voting rights beyond
as opposed to compared to now. But even so, I still don't like the idea.
But here's the deal.
Or at least there should be a limit. Like you get like one a week, you know, like that's all you get.
But that history and tradition restricted the kinds of guns they were. Right? They were muskets. They were long guns. They were
they become law when they're supposed to be for directing the executive departments, but when they make the law, the orders become law. Oh, what's the NSPM 7? Have you seen that? Have you had a chance to check that out?
It seems to me you'd have to employ a historically bounded understanding of guns.
Nope. Let me pull that up.
Both cases, technology changed. Okay? What happened is you had a way that guns presented themselves, and technology has made them more lethal, has made them faster, has made them higher capacity, and you've had technological advances in voting, absentee voting, early voting.
You'll get a kick out of this one.
Right? You've had a lot of technological advantages in both. And it doesn't make any sense that if what we're looking back to is the history and tradition of gun ownership to then allow that to use modern technology of guns, that we shouldn't do the same with voting. Because after all, technological advancement is technological advancement. And if what matters, as the conservatives would have us believe,
NSPM 7, presidential memorandum. I mean, not necessarily an executive order, but same concept, right? He's directing an agency to do what he wants. So
the Supreme Court has had an interest in creating a single tier of rights for the rights that its current
blah blah blah. Yeah, a racist was assassinated.
Members find most compelling, but it has not found a way. It has, in fact, found a way not to include.
Of course, he's always got to make it about him. Of course, he's the most important.
So the right to vote, I have no doubt.
Blah blah blah.
The Supreme Court
about
the right to vote.
Political, quote unquote, political violence.
But I don't think they appreciate its need.
Even though
to be protected.
There's really no question regarding which.
To evolve forward in the same way
God
that
damn it.
musket evolved.
Which one of the parties engages in more hateful rhetoric? Anyway, oh, here it is. Where is it? Political violence is not a series of violence that does not emerge organically. Instead, it is a culmination of sophisticated, organized campaigns of targeted intimidation, radicalization, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech, limit political activity. See, this is what we call projection. Like, I'm sure you've heard that term, but this is what we call projection. The president can do that. They can take over. Okay, no, my problem isn't that he did it. Like, I know that he has authority over the policies within the agencies. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And my problem isn't that he issued this. It's what's in it. A new law enforcement strategy that investigates all participants in these criminal and terroristic conspiracies. Remember what he's talking about. This is what Donald Trump is talking about. Basically, any organization that engages in targeted intimidation, radicalization, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech. Who determines what qualifies as that, right? No? Oh, you're responding to me. That's fair. Yeah. So, who, might you ask, is the one that determines if it's intimidation, radicalization, threats, or violence designed to silence opposing speech? Oh, that'd be the current executive branch and his minions in these departments, right? So, even when, someone like, his own son, makes fun of Paul Pelosi for taking a hammer to the head, if somebody says that Charlie Kirk was a racist, all of a sudden that's like, that's intimidation, and it's a threat and violence. Thoughts on communism? I don't think that communism is possible in any form or fashion on a large scale, because people in power tend to be greedy and narcissistic, and it would inevitably lead to what we saw in the Soviet Union. It's not intimidation, however distasteful. Yeah, exactly. It is not intimidation, but guess who determines, or guess who's trying to say it's intimidation? Okay. They do so through a variety of fora. Ooh. There's no way that he wrote this. There's no way he knows what that word is. There's no way. Absolutely not. Not a chance. Including anonymous chat forums, in-person meetings, social media, even educational institutions. What could you be referring to there? Oh, I don't know. Maybe campus protests from people that don't like seeing, children get bombed. I don't know. Just a hunch. What would you ideologically call yourself? You know what? I say what I think, and I'll leave the labels up to you. Like, I don't like unfettered socialism. I don't like unregulated capitalism. I love the Second Amendment, but I think it should be regulated. So like I straddle the line on just about every single major policy, with the exception of discrimination. You know what I mean? And like women's rights. Like there's and like genocide. Like those are some lines that like there's no straddling. I have pretty firm stances on that, but like governmentally speaking, I straddle a lot. Almost like how I don't think the executive should be given this amount of discretion over the law when Congress has the ability to define the laws and stop that. They also forget what the Constitution is quite frequently. Campaigns. Hold on, there's... Oh, so, here, look at this. Apparently, Antifa is a terrorist organization. Even though the head of this, or someone within this agency recently testified in a committee, or was questioned in a committee, right? Well, testified yet. And somebody asked him where their headquarters were located, and like, they don't have a headquarters. Like, they're not a legitimate group. But apparently, according to this administration, being against fascists, the Nazis, that they were fascists. Apparently, being against fascists is seen as a terrorist movement, right? What's this? Relentless said, if you had to, what? If I had to label myself? Dude, I don't know, man. Like, okay. If you ask me about what my feelings are on a specific policy, a specific event, then I'm more than willing to tell you what my opinions are on it. But like, given what the current Trump administration is doing now, There's like, in how Congress capitulates to everything that he does, there's like no way I would ever vote for a Republican right now. But I have been willing to vote for Republicans in the past, you know what I mean? So it's just the current situation is like the right has moved so far to the right, and I've stayed where I'm at. Would you say you are a Democrat? I would not say that I am a Democrat, but my like my moral and ethical principles align more closely with what would be considered a Democrat. But again, like I straddle the line on a lot of the major issues. Like me personally, I don't like the idea of people getting abortions as a means of birth control. But I don't think it's any of our business to know what goes on in a doctor's office between a woman and her doctor. It's none of my freaking business, right? Because I don't like it, because I don't agree with it, means that my wife and I aren't going to do that, right? That's what that means. So because of that, just because of that right there, because I say I don't think that I should get to determine what goes on between a woman and her doctor, I'm a Democrat. It doesn't matter like anything else that I said, you know? And the Second Amendment, like the gun rights. I support the Second Amendment. I think we should be allowed to own weapons, you know? But I also think there should be limitations in some form or fashion, whether it's registration or, you know, safety, licensing. Like you have to like take a class and a test just like you would a driver's license. But even just that right there, even though I've no issue with people owning weapons, just the fact that I would say that there should be, you know, gun legislation, that puts me in the class of Democrats. So that's why I say these labels are stupid. You can call me whatever you want, but again, if you want to know my opinion on a specific policy or a specific issue, then just ask and I'll be glad to tell you. But Joe isn't evil, at least, even if slightly passionate about their beliefs. Oh, no, like I believe I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm not evil. Like I'm against genocide. I hate discrimination. You know, I hate you know, abuses of power, you know? So like I said, I'll leave the labels up to you. Let's see, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh, common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-American, anti-capitalism. So if I get on a social media forum, according to this, and I exercise my First Amendment right, and combined with what the site allows, because they have their own policies, they can kick me off for saying, you know, cats are stupid if they want to. I'm being nice to you, just take the compliment. Yeah, I appreciate it. Like, just saying, if I'm against, like, capitalism. Oh, apparently anti-Christianity as well. So those apparently being anti-capitalist and anti-Christian, if you express that on a social media forum, that labels you as a terrorist, according to this. So this is what I was. Yeah, Liberty. This is NSPM7. If you want to go through it, there's really not that much, just a couple pages. But yeah, it's a good read. Also no regulation without amendment. That's one stupid ass memo. Yes, it is. But look who our elected executive is, and then when you look at that, then it kind of makes sense. God damn it! Now I don't know what he's talking about. Oh my gosh, my brain's not working today. I need a water. I'm thirsty. I'll be back in a minute. I gotta go back because I missed a lot of stuff because you got me talking. I wasn't expecting people to hop on, to be honest with you, like on a Monday evening. But anyway, appreciate it. I'll be right back in a minute.
Text of the Second Amendment, you cannot balance that right. You cannot give judges the ability to decide whether exercising the right is really worth it when compared to the benefits in restricting the right. But yet, under the court's interpretation of voting rights, that's exactly what we do. And I think that's wrong. And I think you probably think that's wrong. And as I mentioned, it used to not be the case. So what I am arguing, what I am suggesting is that this light bulb that went off in my head, this idea that, we can build upon something that conservatives have identified, nowhere does it have more application than here. Nowhere should it have more application than in the right to vote. Now, here's what the conservative lawyers will say to you. Here's what they will tell you is different about the right to vote than the right to own a gun. They'll say, well, look, the Constitution is explicit about gun rights through the Second Amendment, while it's largely silent on the right to vote. So they'll say, Mark, you misread the Alito quote because he was talking about rights guaranteed in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights or elsewhere. I think that that's a bunch of nonsense. Because here's the deal. For the bulk of our nation's history, the right to bear arms was not understood to be an individual right. Rather, it was viewed as qualified by the amendment's opening clause, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, right? That's how the Second Amendment begins. And while there's no standalone right to vote in the Constitution, there is Article 1, which includes the elections clause, right? So it clearly contemplates we're going to have elections. And if we're going to have elections, there's going to be a right to vote. And then, of course, there is the matter of the 15th, 17th, 19th, and 26th Amendments. The 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote to black men. The 17th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote for everyone when it came to their senators, right? Senators had to...
You can't bounce a right. Oh, that isn't how it works. Wait, are you agreeing or disagreeing with an attorney that has presented dozens of cases in front of the Supreme Court on constitutionality? Oh my gosh, I keep. Okay, so I have ADHD, and I'm supposed to take 2 doses, and I took one this morning. I think that's maybe why I'm getting tired, because I didn't take the second one because I wanted to fall asleep. And it's like I focus for like a minute and then I completely blank out. So I legitimately don't remember what he said to know whether you're agreeing or disagreeing with him.
To be popularly elected. The 19th Amendment guaranteed the right of women to be able to vote. And the 26th Amendment lowered the age of voting. Guaranteed the
Disagreeing.
Right
Education based on status quo, which doesn't take the Old English course.
All of those specifically reference the right to vote.
Actually, he did mention something about the Old English precedent.
Like the Second Amendment does. Yet, this court...
He did mention something about that it wasn't, and the Second Amendment wasn't interpreted the way it was until recently.
A right to vote that is a first-class right. You also have the 24th Amendment's ban on poll taxes.
Oh, fuck it, I'm not going back.
Which were used as a way of restricting voting rights. So you have the 24th Amendment, then you have the 26th Amendment, and in the
I'm sorry, this dude.
You have the Supreme Court.
So he's
talking about.
Obviously, he's like a licensed attorney.
Infringement on the right to vote,
he's been practicing law for like well over 25 years. Has tried dozens of cases
right to vote in a, quote,
in front of the Supreme Court.
Manner,
so
unimpaired manner is preservative.
I kind of feel like he's more of a subject matter expert than either of us.
That the understanding of the Constitution through history, including in the most
You know what I mean?
amendments, was a unrestricted right to vote.
They only listened to what the court said.
Now, the other thing that the conservatives will say is that, you know, the right to bear arms is part of the history and tradition of the country.
Oh, here it is.
And the history and tradition of voting, though they would acknowledge it existed at the founding of the country and it existed over time through all of those amendments, they would say that what existed was in-person voting on election day. And so you can't expand voting rights beyond in-person on election day. Okay? That would be their argument. But here's the deal. The Second Amendment was also bounded by history and tradition. Yes, there was a history and tradition of owning guns, but that history and tradition restricted the kinds of guns they were. Right? They were muskets. They were long guns. They were pistols with limited capacity. They were not semi-automatics. They were not the kinds of weapons of war that we now see in our nation's streets. And so if we're going to employ a historically bounded understanding of voting, it seems to me you'd have to employ a historically bounded understanding of guns. In both cases, technology changed. Okay? What happened is
that is such a
you
flawed
had
argument.
way
What?
that
Applying
guns presented themselves and
applying the
technology has
historical
made them more
accuracy
lethal,
to
has made them
the way it's
faster,
interpreted,
has made
like
them
across
higher
the board?
capacity. And you've had technological advances in voting. Absentee voting, early voting, voting by mail, right? You've had a lot of technological advantages in both. And it doesn't make any sense that if we're looking back to is the history and tradition of gun ownership to then allow that to use modern technology of guns, that we shouldn't do the same with voting. Because after all, technological advancement is technological advancement. And if what matters, as the conservatives would have us believe, is that there was a right, and that once there was a right, that right needs to sort of keep pace of advancements. That as technology advances, so do those rights. So here's the thing. The Supreme Court has had an interest in creating a single tier of rights.
Trapping technology
for the
down
rights
mean the internet
that its
isn't
current
covered.
members cherish. Its current members find most compelling. But
Well,
it has not
That's
found a way.
different.
It has, in fact, found a way not
If there
to
was something in the Constitution
those
that talked
rights.
about the internet, then it would
the
be
rights
covered.
that they
Just
are
like
less fond of, or that
the
they
right
find
to
less
gun
in need
ownership
of
is in the
protection.
Constitution. So that's what
So
needs
the right
to.
to vote, I have no doubt every member
You know
of
what
the
I mean?
Supreme Court cherishes the right to vote. But I don't think they appreciate its need to be protected. I don't
Also,
think
doesn't make sense for it to
they
even target
find
the tech
a need for it to evolve
because the laws of
forward
prohibition on
in the
Congress's
same way
law
that a
making the
musket
subject.
evolved forward into a lethal semi-automatic. I could live without the semi-automatic rifles. I can't live without the right to vote. So here's the thing. I'm going to take the reasoning that the conservatives offered for what they care most about and try to apply it to the things that I care most about. Now, this may sound really simple, but I'm not naive. This Supreme Court would not, if presented with this argument, likely adopt it. But here's what I'm telling you. We need to get out of short-term thinking. Okay, this is the straight talk portion of this. This is the part that you may not want to hear. We cannot simply say that there is a court case we do not like, and therefore we're going to hold our breath until it goes away. We cannot say we don't like Citizens United, and therefore we just want to end Citizens United. We cannot say that we don't like the direction that the Supreme Court has taken on guns or on abortion, and we're going to simply say, therefore we're going to wish it away. No, we need to be playing the long game. Who played the long game? The conservatives. Remember I said at the beginning of this video that they started opposing the statute that I was defending in the Supreme Court in the 1990s, and then again in the 1990s. And then they lost a big case in 2001, and here they are. You know, one way to view that is persistence and commitment. We need to have the same level of persistence and commitment about the rights that we cherish, the rights we want to advance, the rights we don't want to be second-class rights as they have. And they are helping us pave the way jurisprudentially. So while I don't think the current Supreme Court is going to say that the right to vote is a first-class right entitled to the same level of skepticism and scrutiny and strict scrutiny that other rights do, I do think it provides an analytical framework that's quite useful. I do think it provides a pathway to start to build these arguments and pitch these arguments, even though we may lose them, even though they may run into roadblocks now, because by doing that, you start to build a jurisprudence. Losing the campaign finance that they lost built a jurisprudence that they are now trying to rely on to win. Building a jurisprudence around gun ownership that they lost for decades and decades built a jurisprudence that was then compelling when the court was receptive. And we need to do the same thing. We need to stop just playing defense and saying we're trying to stop the court from doing this.
Voting
that line of authority. We're not bringing a case because we're afraid this is going to be
so
overturned.
If voting's not a right, how are you supposed to have elections?
It's fine playing some defense, but if we don't have a positive legal
like
agenda,
in order
we
for
don't have
people to get
something we
elected,
want
there have to be
achieve,
elections. But
then when our
if no one has the right
opportunities
to vote, what's
we're not going to have
that's
any.
what he's saying. That's
So
what he
I'm
said in the
here to
beginning.
just lay down a marker and say
You can say it's not in the
that creating a
Constitution,
first-class right to vote should
the
be
right
on
to
our
vote.
list. It's top of my list.
But
it's on yours.
if
And I hope you
if
keep it
nobody
on
has
other
the right to
people's
vote,
lists.
how are we
Because
supposed to have
a lot of
elections?
groups, a lot of lawyers, a lot of legal authorities, a lot of law professors, they're all going to have their list. And I just want to make sure that
This
as
is a
that list
privilege
gets
of
put together,
citizenship.
right to vote is near the top.
Yeah, but if nobody,
And
if you don't
it's
have the
good
right
with
to
me
vote,
if
then
we
that
say
means even it
no
can be taken away from
second-class
citizens.
rights. Right to vote is a first-class right. We don't balance it. We don't give judges an opportunity to cut it back, and we
Because,
don't
you know,
say that
it's
the
not a
states
right.
Can find it more convenient not to have it. Sounds like a good jurisprudence to me, and it's courtesy of everything we have found that the conservatives have argued for years and decades.
Personally, I think it should
So
be a
let's do that
requirement.
here. This
That's my
leads
own
to
personal
a
opinion,
broader
but
point. And, you know, one of the reasons why I found this, actually the only reason I found this, was because I was casting a wide net. Because in the course of looking at
like, you know how they
campaign
cycle
finance,
in
the
school,
in the
they'll
course of
cycle
preparing myself for an argument
like the lunch period
about
in high school will be
campaign
like
finance.
three
By the way,
like
campaign
30-minute
finance is
blocks.
another area where
That's
the
how they
law
should
has
cycle
gotten,
people
you know,
through
quite
through voting.
but anyway, in the course of doing that, I had to look at the opinions that are being written by the justices who are in the majority today, and I had to take them seriously.
No, right means
So
everyone
I
has it.
know
Wait,
that
I might
this
be
is
thinking about
hard for
freedoms.
many of us. I
Okay.
know this is hard for many of you.
Well, okay.
You want to decry the opinions coming out of the Supreme Court. You don't want to treat them seriously.
Like,
You want to say
I don't
that
think
they
the semantics are
somehow
important here.
Political acts,
Like, whether
illegitimate
right,
acts. Well, here's the
freedom,
deal. They
privilege,
are
I don't think the
law of
semantics are what's
land
important.
Under judicial supremacy.
What's important
under the idea
is that in order to
courts
have
get decide
elections,
what the Constitution
people
is and
have
what
to
the
be
federal law.
allowed to vote.
Now, we can have a whole jurisprudential debate about that and whether that ought to change and whether Congress should be more authoritative in interpreting federal law
And
or the states or whatever. Like, we can have a whole conversation about federalism and separation of powers.
if it's not,
But the system is what it is right now.
if
And
they're
frankly,
allowed to
It
restrict
is
whoever
many
they
of
want,
us on the left. It is many liberals who helped build the notion that
Then
courts reign supreme in their
they could restrict everyone and no more
so
elections.
That's not going away anytime soon. And so, if that's the reality of it is, after we're done complaining, after
what
we're
these
done
dumbasses here in
lamenting,
Texas
after we're
did?
done our fury, we need to read these decisions, and we need to take their reasoning seriously.
They had,
Because they are the law of the land.
Hold on.
It is as the ball laid.
you reminded me of
Use a
something.
good golf expression. And
This past November, Texas had a bunch of ballot initiatives. I think there were like 17 of them in total, something like that. Maybe 19, I don't remember. Anyway, one of the ballot initiatives, this was, you know, put on the ballot by the Texas legislature for us to vote on. One of them was that you're not allowed to vote unless you are a United States citizen. And you know what I did? I voted no on that just because of the sheer stupidity of wasting the time of putting that on there. Like, and this is why, this is what happens when Republican supermajorities oversee the state's education system for decades. It's stuff like that. You have a populace that legitimately believes that people who are not U.S. citizens are allowed to vote. Hold on, I'll pull it up. I will pull it up. Give me a minute. And I will tell you exactly what it said. I want to be completely accurate with this. Give me a minute. Let me try to find it. In the meantime, I'll let this play.
So that's what I tried to do as I prepared for the Supreme Court case. And that's what I did when I came across these gun cases. That's what I did as I took away from what Justice Alito and Justice Scalia had to say here. Rather than just saying, you know what, there is nothing in it. There's nothing in my jurisprudence to be found in reading these opinions. I went in with an open mind. I said, let me try to understand where they are coming from and see where that leads me. And where it led me is actually to a pretty exciting place. Like, I may not look excited, but I am very excited.
17 propositions.
You're going to hear more about this from me. You're going to hear more about this from me in videos in the future, so I hope you're subscribed to this channel. You're going to hear more about
You know what?
this
Actually, I'm going to take time to go over all these.
So make sure you're subscribed to Democracy Doctor, but also leave comments.
Okay, good. His video's about over, so I can throw this up here now. I'm going to take the time to go over all these because I want to show you how ridiculous, how important a good education is. I just want to be clear. The constitutional amendment prohibiting the imposition of a tax on realized or unrealized capital gains of an individual, family, estate, or trust. Boom. Sounds pretty cool, right? Like, hey, this means, you know, your, whatever, like, mostly like stocks and stuff, capital gains taxed aren't, or capital gains aren't taxed, right? Which, on its face, sounds cool. And this is why messaging, framing, policy framing is so important. Which demographic group, which economic class do you think profits the most from unrealized or realized capital gains? You can answer that however you like. That's just tough to ponder. It passed like 70 to 30. So again, if they're not able, if the state is no longer allowed to tax this group, you have to ask yourself, if they need additional funding in the future, where are they going to go for their tax revenue? It's not here. Let's see what else we got. Texas Water Fund, blah blah blah. Which, funny enough, the companies that are proposed to take over these contracts are donors to Governor Abbott and Ken Paxton's campaigns. By that logic, then the majority of people are not in that class, and so would repeal it now. Okay, the answer to your question is both yes and no. Yes, if they actually knew how it was going to screw them over in the future, but because a significant portion of voters lack critical thinking skills or prefer not to use them, the answer is no, they're not going to. Some can't tax animal feed, whatever. Really care about that one. I don't even remember what I voted on that one. Oh, here we go. The constitutional amendment prohibiting legislature from enacting a law imposing an occupation tax on certain entities that enter into transactions conveying securities. This is the important one. Conveying securities or certain securities transactions. So again, ask yourself, which economic group is most likely to be affected by the imposition of a securities tax? Answer that however you want. Oh, here's another one. The constitutional amendment authorizing the legislature to provide for an exemption of ad valorem taxation of all or part of the market value of the residence, homestead of the surviving spouse of veteran. Oh no, actually this one, I voted yes for this one. Because it's specific to surviving spouses of veterans. It's not widespread. It's not like everybody, you know? And plus most veterans don't enter the military because they're, you know, just swimming in wealth. So I actually voted yes for that one. Oh, here we go. The constitutional amendment prohibits the legislature from imposing death taxes applicable to a decedent's property, transfer of an estate, inheritance, legacy, succession, or gift. So, again, ask yourself this question. Which economic demographic group, is most likely to have a sufficient amount of wealth to be able to pass on to their surviving relatives? I'm pretty sure it's not people living in trailer parks. Just a hunch. Just a hunch. Again, you have to keep in mind, all of these, they're worded in a way that's like, oh, less taxes, oh, less taxes, oh, less taxes. That sounds pretty cool, right? Every single one of these passed by like a 6-4 margin. Keep in mind. Like, they weren't even close. Weren't even close. Constitutional amendment. I voted yes on this one. Again, it's worded in a way of taxation. But they're basically saying taxation of portion of market value tangible personal property that is held or used for the production of income. So basically like work trucks, or if you have like, you know, you work out of home, you know what I mean? So it basically, this is something that I could see helping small businesses. Obviously, larger businesses are going to take advantage of that, more advantage of it. But considering it's relegated to a small group instead of widespread like the other ones were, I actually voted yes on that one. Death tax applies to all inheritance. I know that because even my family was affected by it. Yeah, well, guess what? According to this Texas law, the legislature is no longer to impose death taxes, state taxes. There might be federal ones still. There might be federal, but state. This is state legislation. Keep in mind. Okay, what's this one? This is like provides a tax exemption for the appraised value of an improvement to a homestead that is completely destroyed by a fire. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? If your home's destroyed by fire, yeah, that sucks. Trump suspended the federal death tax. So, oh well, Texas did too. So, you know, congratulations to, you know, people that are able to pass, you know, millions of dollars onto their relatives, because I don't have that. So that's cool. Good job. Glad that helps me out. So this one increases the homestead exemption. It expands the homestead exemption for a person who is elderly or disabled. I actually voted on that because again, it's a small group, you know, and plus with as much as healthcare costs are now, you know, combined with how much property taxes are going up, and the fact that elderly people don't typically have school-age children, I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll give them that one. Doesn't just apply to wealthy, it's especially helpful for those who inherit any... Yes, but okay, this is true, but again, ask yourself, which economic class is most likely to be able to have enough wealth upon their death to be able to pass on to their children or surviving relatives? You know what I mean? Like, do you think that like just anyone in a poor community, just because they have a home, means that they'll have money to pass on to their survive? Like both my grandparents died like within, I think, a year or two of each other, and my grandmother died 2 years ago. And when she died, they, towards the last few years of their life, they had to sell their home to pay for, you know, assisted living facility, and then all the medical bills. And by the time there was by the time they did pass away and there was an inheritance to pass on, it was like maybe like 10,000 per child. And I think my oldest aunt, the one that controlled the distribution of the inheritance, there was enough to give like each grandchild like $500. And they had been, like, my grandfather was in the military, and he spent years working at a steel mill. He had a pension, like all that stuff. It had his home completely paid off, right? And even then, they had like maybe like $60,000 left over, like, to pass on. So, is Ivan Zuzu. What makes the Trump class carrier better than the Chinese or Russian carriers? It combs over the rest. Also, what's the best mobile network carrier? I have no idea. I honestly have no idea which the best mobile network carrier is. Okay, anyway, moving on. Oh, check this one out. Is this the one I think it is? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, this changed the number of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. So, the legislative body, or sorry, the judicial body in Texas, specifically intended to the commission that's specifically intended to focus on judicial misconduct, right? That's their specific purpose. Now, keep in mind, I want you to, like, there's a lot of context here. You have someone like the State Attorney General, Ken Paxton, here in Texas, who was impeached by Republicans, the Republican legislature here in Texas. They're the ones that voted to impeach him, right? And then in the ensuing election cycle, Greg Abbott used a lot of his campaign finance to help Ken Paxton get sorry, not to help Ken Paxton, but the people that voted to impeach Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott spent like millions of dollars on opponents of those people that voted to impeach him. Like, this dude is so corrupt, Ken Paxton, like so ridiculously corrupt. So anyway, there's a little backstory there. So what this does, it allows the governor to appoint, it increases how many appointees the governor has for the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. Weird, huh? He sounds cool. A real George Washington. Okay. So the Texas Bar, which is probably a nonpartisan entity, I'm guessing, goes from 2 to 0, and the governor goes up from 5 to 7. Congratulations. This passed, by the way. People in Texas legitimately voted to give Greg Abbott more authority on the State Commission of Judicial Conduct that's intended to oversee and sanction and penalize. It just says judges and justices, but you have to think, who's presiding over the corruption cases against Ken Paxton? You know? Anyway, that passed. Because, you know, here in Texas, we're known for being ridiculously intelligent. Here's this one. The constitutional amendment to increase the amount of a homestead exemption from 100 to 140. So again, message framing. Think message framing. People see this, they're like, oh, frick, yeah, tax break, yeah. But the primary source of public education revenue is property taxes. But that's not mentioned here. Well, okay, it is mentioned, but okay. So it's mentioned here, but that's because this is written for voters. This is not what was specifically on the ballot. The only thing that was seen on the ballot was this, the part in quotations. So people see, yay, lower taxes. But me, I know that the majority of public school funding comes from property taxes. I voted no, even though I am a homeowner. Like, I would legitimately benefit from this. But I was like, no, this is stupid. Because keep in mind, just last year, Texas approved the school choice, the school vouchers, which takes public school funding and is given, if people want to send their children to private schools, they are given a voucher which is taken from public school funding. Why doesn't Texas just allocate funding to schools? Because they're running a surplus. Because they want people to be stupid. Like, do you remember before how I said that an uneducated population is more, this is like proven, by the way, an uneducated population is more susceptible to propaganda, like propaganda tactics. Like, they just have less critical thinking skills. So if the party, which we see the Republican Party, they rely heavily on misinformation and disinformation. So in order to make sure that the population is stupid enough to keep voting for them, they have to destroy the education system. Because if you have a bunch of people, you know, going to school, taking civics classes, they might actually stop and think about this for a second. Should there be an IQ test before you vote? No. No. I don't think there should be any education requirements in order for you to vote. But I personally think that college should be free. But that's just my opinion. So anyway, I voted no on that. Passed, like, I think this one was one of the highest margins. Like, it passed like 69 to nice. 69-21. 31. But yeah, there's that. Dementia research. Yeah, I voted yeah on that. Okay, here we go. Here's where we're getting into the Republican talking points. The constitutional amendment affirming that parents are the primary decision makers for children. Want to take a guess what that's about? Again, I'll give you a hint. It has to do with public education. I'll let you stew on that one. Oh, here it is. Look, okay. This is what I wanted to show you. This is what got me started on this. the constitutional amendment clarifying that a voter must be a United States citizen. Because when you earlier, when you said, oh, there's a difference between a state citizen and a U.S. citizen. Texas. 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 Is it there? That way? That way? Nope, that way. That way. I'm mirrored. That way. Okay, anyway. And yeah, this one passed pretty easily. For what election? Yes. What do you mean for what election? A voter. It doesn't matter what election. A voter. Voter. The election's not the point. You're overthinking this. Like, this is what it says. And it passed. Like, I voted no just out of spite. I was like, this is freaking stupid. Like, the only reason they put this in here is so that people in the Trump administration, like Stephen Miller, can get their rocks off. You know, making sure that people see this when they go to vote. That's it. That's all it was. So yeah. Anyway, that's Texas. That would mean permanent residents can't vote in state elections if it applies to all elections. What? No, what is it? Where does it exclude? It doesn't say anything about permanent residents. There's no exclusion in there. Dude, I'm telling you, you are overthinking this. Stop it. You are overthinking this. Like, put your overthinking cap somewhere else right now. You are overthinking this. Their goal wasn't to make any changes to any constitutions. Like, are permanent residents U.S. citizens? Oh my gosh. Not necessarily, but no. Anyway. Dude, like, it doesn't say anything about permanent residents in there. It doesn't say, so I don't, stop it. Stop it. That wasn't their goal. What about temporarily residents? No, you have to be registered in the state to be able to vote. Yeah, or you have to be registered in your district to be able to vote. In your local elections. No, dude. A voter must be, like, permanent citizen or not. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point was, they just wanted the Republican supermajority wanted the current administration to see this. Like, they basically wanted Trump brownie points. I'm telling you, that's all this was. But anyway, yeah, education's important. Critical thinking skills are important. And red states have horrible education. Like, I understand that causation is not correlation, or correlation is not causation. However, when you see a significant, like the overwhelming majority of red states have the worst educations, and they are also tend to be more Republican leaning, then that's got to set off some bells. Got to set off some bells. Temporary residents are not U.S. state citizens. What about refugees? Ivan Zuzu, I'm pretty sure you're trolling. You gotta be trolling. Refugees are also visitors so long as they go through the asylum process. The asylum process? But The insane asylum. That's because that's where they're coming in. Mexico is sending us people from their insane asylum. That's the asylum process. Is Mexico sending us people from their insane asylums?
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. So in just a second,
I still like
DOJ
answering
and
questions.
the FBI are absolutely collapsing over the Epstein files. They know they screwed up. They know they broke the law. They know they're facing potential impeachment or contempt. This is a huge, huge deal. Shout out to Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, who are on top of this like nobody.
Just like Arkham Asylum. Yes,
yes. Talk about that. We also have
that is exactly who Mexico is sending us.
For the regime
Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, and the Joker.
Targeting 60 Minutes and not allowing them to do their job and do actual
or
journalism.
El Joker, as he's known in Mexico.
In El Salvador. We'll talk about that. We also have another act of war. The Trump regime continues to seize Venezuelan oil completely illegally and demand regime change. We have Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro, and that gets vile and dirty super quickly. We'll get to Alex Jones now. Apparently he's in the business of debunking conspiracy theories. Did you ever think you'd see the day where Alex Jones was debunking conspiracy theories? He's going after Candace Owens. That's incredible. Erica Kirk hits a new low. She also has the worst and most hilarious Freudian slip I've ever seen in my life. We have Dave Chappelle going after Bill Maher. And of course, the MAGA Civil War is now totally and completely consuming the entire TPUSA event that just happened. So you don't want to miss any of this stuff, guys. You know the drill, man. Everybody please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you absolutely nothing at all. You can also support the show on Patreon. That's a big deal. It means the world. Remember, this is real independent media. I've never talked to a billionaire, never talked to a PAC, never talked to a government or anything like that. Never talked to an advertiser.
Stephen Miller does remind me of the Penguin.
Show from the ground up. It's grassroots media. It's
to be honest with you,
we really appreciate.
I can see the resemblance.
Also, you can support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link.
I just find it funny the lawyer makes some of the most absurd arguments.
Do not forget to
no, actually, he didn't.
World on YouTube. We do live Kyle and Corn episodes every Monday night. So you don't want to miss that
I think
either. All right, y'all. With that being said,
let's
go ahead and jump right in. So
I would say that you think they're
I did
absurd.
a special segment for you guys on Saturday
because
breaking down what we knew about
you might not have as much
files that were released.
Constitutional and judicial knowledge as he does.
I should point out that only 1% of the Epstein files have been released thus far, and they've been heavily redacted. Now,
I think you said you were in your early 20s, right? Around that time.
So they
he has been
left a bunch of stuff.
He has been a litigator for longer than you have been alive. If you are in your early 20s, which I think you said you were.
Go watch that video.
You know what I mean?
If you haven't watched it yet, it gives you all the details, all the stuff you'd want to know about the release of the Epstein files. But
saying that the Second Amendment only applies to
do we have some updates. So take a look at this from Midas Touch. According to the AP, at least 16 files have disappeared from the DOJ website.
It's actually not
to
absurd
with zero
because that's when it was. That was
to the public. So
those were the armaments.
They go, oh shit, we meant to redact
that militias had at the time that it was written.
And so then, even after everybody saw
it's not absurd.
They go and they pull it back down. This stuff is so brazen. It's so comically inept. It's like the fucking Three Stooges are running the FBI and the DOJ. Then we get this: the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. He goes on.
No, the First Amendment does not apply to parchment and paper.
An historic implosion.
Because the First Amendment is about speech.
The Files Transparency Act called for all files with limited exceptions to be released within 30 days. On Friday, the Justice Department released just a fraction of the overall Epstein files. Why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
Now,
good morning. So it's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims.
If it had said something about
we are still reviewing documents and
the right to publish newspapers is protected,
to protect victims. So the same individuals.
So basically, what's happening
complaining about
is
the
like
lack of documents that were
if it had said
Friday,
the right to publish newspapers
who apparently don't want us to protect victims. So we're going through a very
is protected,
process with
and that's translated to today
every single document and making sure
to
that
cover the internet
information from victims
because that was the form of communication.
Which is exactly
that's basically what's
happening
happened with the Second Amendment.
Exactly what Attorney General Bondi expects. It's exactly what President Trump expects. So that's what we're doing.
The right to distribute publication, right? Let's just say
posted pictures that included Trump, and then they pulled that down. What the hell does that have to do with protecting victims?
Distribute physical publication,
absolutely nothing to do with protecting victims. This is what's known as a lie. He's lying.
You're talking about protecting the victims. The law directed the Justice Department to, quote, release internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigate, or decline to investigate Epstein or his associates. That's the crux of what many of the victims or the survivors say they want to see. Why wasn't that information prioritized in the first release, Mr. Blanche?
Well, first of all, it was. And there are numerous documents released on Friday that address what you just quoted from the statute, that address internal communications within the Department of Justice and
here's
internal
like another
communications
thing
between
that, like,
law enforcement
absolutely
and the Department of
infuriates me.
Justice.
Like,
but it's for the same reason.
how?
Because many of those internal communications talk about
How do
victims.
people
Many
on
of
the
those
political
internal back
right,
and forth between prosecutors and law enforcement talk about victims and their
how
stories.
do they
And
not
that has
see
to be
what's going
redacted.
on with
And by the way,
this
everybody expects us to
and
redact
not
that.
think
So
that
the
they're
same
hiding
complaints
like
that we're hearing
wealthy?
yesterday and even this morning from Democrats and from others screaming loudly from a hill about lack of production on Friday. Imagine if we had released tons of information around victims. That would be the true crime. That would be the true wrong.
Oh, that hurt.
And if anybody out there, I heard Congressman Raskin, the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee releasing statements accusing Attorney General Bondi, Director Patel, and myself of not doing our jobs. If they have an issue with me protecting victims, they know how to get a hold of me. But we're not going to stop doing it.
So again, this is just a lie. And it's not just Democrats who are pissed off about this. Thomas Massey is saying very clearly, not only are you guys not following the letter of the law, you're not following the spirit of the law
all of a sudden it just felt like
when
my,
you release just 1% of the files, when you're supposed to release all of the files, that is
like
not
there's like
like,
a dry
oh, we got
part
close,
of my
but
throat.
we came up just short. That's like you're engaged in a massive cover-up. And what puts the cherry on top of the cover-up is, like I said, you released 16 things that you, oops, tee, my bad.
But
I was trying to not show our Fred-ophile.
So that means we wouldn't be allowed to talk?
So now I'm going to pull that back down. That's got nothing to do with victims. So as Midas Touch says, they consider Epstein's
Is the vape hopefully
associates
not throat
victims.
cancer?
That's
Yeah,
what
hopefully
he's getting
not.
at here, because they're trying to protect Epstein's associates, and they already failed to protect the real victims in the initial release. That's exactly right. There's a woman who they didn't actually
that's a good point.
redact her name when she wanted her name to be redacted.
It would also only cover religions
and
that
they did
existed at
redact
that time
the
and
name
couldn't
of
be
her
added
abuser. This is ridiculous. It really shows
Yeah,
you
I'll concede
who
that's
this
a good
government
point.
works for. There actually is a billionaire Fredophile cabal that is running the country.
Anyway,
and they
to be
are
honest with you, we got
working
more
overtime
immediate
in our
problems.
government to protect the billionaires in this cabal, the criminals in this cabal. All right, more. Here we go. Now we get a question about Ghislaine Maxwell.
I do want to ask you about Ghislaine Maxwell, who was, of course, convicted in 2021 for her role in helping Jeffrey Epstein traffic his victims. In July, you interviewed her in Florida, where she was serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison. Just a week later, Maxwell was moved to a more permissive prison camp in Texas. Why was
I actually
she
think that,
moved
like,
just days after
the
you
people
interviewed her,
involved
Mr. Blanche?
with Epstein,
That's a Bureau of Prison Security
if
issue
they are not,
that we will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
be right back. Ow!
Let me finish. First of all, I am...
He might as well tattoo guilty directly on his forehead. Holy cow, man.
responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Ms. Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity toward her, and the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail,
it only happens when I talk a lot,
but also for their safety. And so she was moved. She's in federal prison. She was in federal prison before. She's in federal prison now. She's doing 20 years because she was convicted.
If these wealthy
and
people,
the fact that she moved, she might be
if they're not held accountable
tomorrow if
for trafficking, like
that's true of any federal inmate
over
across this country.
There's another lie.
1,000
she was in like a
children
normal prison, and she was basically moved.
They aren't held
to
accountable.
Like a vacation spot,
I think that's going to be like
type prison, where they can do hot yoga and watch movies and play video games. And she apparently had somebody waiting on her hand and foot 24/7, and she was able to leave and come back. It's like it was like being in a resort on a vacation 24/7, and so. He doesn't know how to answer to this. Why? Very simply because he was ordered to do this. You think he made this decision on his own? You think he decided? Now that's what the Trump regime wants you to believe. Is like, oh, this guy Todd Blanche went rogue. My ass cheeks, he went rogue. No, he didn't. He got orders from Trump. And Trump definitely told him, take care of her. And the reason he said that is because, she has the ability to try to help me clear my name. And she did. She came out there and she said, oh, Trump never did anything wrong. He was a perfect gentleman. I never saw him do any of that bad stuff. And then what happened? Her payment for that was, okay, I'm going to send you from an actual prison into, like, you know, one where you can do hot yoga and play Parcheesi all day. and have a fucking puppy.
I think the biggest flaw
has a puppy,
in the Second Amendment argument, which I've said this before,
none of us are allowed to have a puppy.
is the fact that
she's at the softest prison in
they
the
have
world,
imposed
and
infringements
she's getting special
on the Second
treatment
Amendment.
On top of that. That's not something they had to change the actual rules.
But
to
don't give up
transfer her
smoking. We're
to
here
that
for a good
kind
time.
of a prison. This is part of Trump's cover-up. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell has already been paid back in spades.
It's not even
for
a good
her
time.
attempt
I'm just
clear
addicted
Trump's
to
name.
nicotine.
But it's still possible that she's even going to go as far as getting a pardon, because Trump will potentially permit that. So it just insane stuff. And here's this guy looking like a deer in headlights, trying to clean it up. All right, here we go. So now I believe he's asked a question specifically about how they pulled down the pictures of Trump after forgetting to redact it. Here we go.
Mr. Blanchard, I want to follow up with you on what you just said. You were referencing the 15 files released on Friday. They disappeared from DOJ's website yesterday, including this photo of what looks like a desk with a drawer open containing photos of Donald Trump.
Bro, it's literally like a dedicated drawer
doesn't mean laws change.
in Epstein's house.
Yeah, totally. Like,
and it's a drawer
violent
full
felons
of fucking Trump
should not
pictures
have their Second
and what
Amendment
appears to be
right
a
to own
massive
weapons
stack of
infringed.
papers. What are those
100% agree with
papers?
that.
I have no idea. Is it some sort
I'll
of
be right back.
lawsuit?
I'm going to get some milk.
Is it some sort of book that has details of all of the dirt that Epstein has on Trump? We know there's pictures. We know there's videos. That's a fact. So the question is, what is in this drawer in its totality? Because it looks like a drawer that's specifically dedicated to Donald Trump. And then, by the way, you look up and you see there's a picture of Epstein with the Pope. There's a picture of Epstein with Mohammed bin Salman. I mean, it is insane. This man was truly at the top of a global conspiracy.
Just to be very clear, to put a fine point on it, why were these files taken down? You're saying it was at the direction of a judge?
You can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned...
So why, if that's the case, why didn't you redact that and then put them back up? Redact the women's faces and then put them back up. You didn't do that because it had nothing to do with the women. Nothing at all. You were trying to protect Trump. He probably threw a fit when he realized some of the things that were released included pictures of him.
After releasing that photograph, that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. There are dozens of photos of President Trump already released to the public, seeing him with Mr. Epstein. He has said that in the 90s and early 2000s, he socialized with him. So the absurdity.
There's a big difference between that and the global Fredophile CEO of Elite Sex Crimes Incorporated has a dedicated drawer specifically to you.
Of us pulling down a photo, a single photo, because President Trump was in it, is laughable. And the fact that everybody's trying to act like that's the case is a reflection of their true motivation. But the reality is anybody, any victim, any victim's lawyers, any victim rights group can reach out to us and say, hey, Department of Justice, there's a document, there's a photo, there's something within the Epstein files that identifies me, and we will then, of course, pull that off and investigate it.
Are you saying that one or more of the women in one of the photos or several of the photos is a victim or a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why you took those files down? And will they...
What an unbelievable follow-up from Welker here. Oh, my God. She's got him in a logic chokehold. She has him checkmated. She's like, oh, okay, so there are pictures of women with Trump there, and you just said we had to pull that down because that's a victim, so we have to, like, you know, protect her identity. And then Welker's like, oh, so she is a victim then. So you're saying that, you know, potentially Trump victimized her. Is that what you're saying? Now watch him try to moonwalk right out the room, son.
They be put back up?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You know that thing I just said? I'm not saying that thing I just said.
Of course, if we knew that, if we believed that photograph contained a survivor, we wouldn't have put it up in the first place without redacting the faces. But notwithstanding what we believe, we don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up.
Okay, on my way back.
The only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo.
I went to get some milk.
Survivors in any of the photos,
it's going to put some honey in it.
As Congress expects us to do.
But the honey was crystallized, so it's like, I was trying to heat it up. Okay.
Man, they are.
Well, I don't think felons should have a weapon, but the Constitution is a law of land.
And then finally, look, I'll end with this one. Jason Bassler says the following: worst cover-up in U.S. history. Selective omissions.
The point I was trying to make with that comment is that common sense applications
let me just pause here to point out. Khanna and Thomas Massey made such a
of constitutional
about
rights
things missing, and just making it crystal clear there's going to be consequences for this. that the FBI actually
Like, I don't have a problem with
release some of that stuff.
common sense application
right? I mean,
to constitutional
it's
rights,
such a
right?
Three Stooges-ass
And
cover-up.
Not
they're just
allowing
scrambling and desperately trying to, like,
violent
stop
felons
the ship from sinking at the moment.
who,
So
you know, like,
550 pages
go to
totally
prison
blacked
for
out.
10 years
Government
for
officials
attempted murder.
redacted 3,500 out of 200,000 documents.
I think that's
what
common
was
sense.
16
That they should not be
files
allowed to own a
pulled
firearm. You know what I mean?
post-release, including
To me,
2
that's common sense.
Trump picks. And the
I also
DOJ
think it's common sense
redacted Trump's pert
to ensure
fetish
that,
report. Excuse you? Excuse
you know,
now, this is the first time I'm
everyone
hearing
is
this one.
well trained
What in God's name?
in
Several girls at any one time
like the
she
safe
confined in
operation
casual
of those
friendship with
weapons.
Donald
You know,
Trump. Definitely
a
seemed
mixed
to have a
bone marrow,
thing
milk,
for her,
magnesium,
and she told me
tumbleweed,
how he kept
crude
going
over
on
medium
about how
heat
he
for a
liked
super
her
potion.
pert nipples.
Is that
Donald
from
Trump
like
liked flicking and
Kingdom
sucking
Come
her
Deliverance?
nipples until they were raw. One evening when we were showering together, she showed me
Sounds
her
like one of the
nipples.
potions they made in that
incredibly
game.
Painful as they were red and swollen, and I remember wincing when I looked at them. I also know she had sexual relations with Trump at Jeffrey's New York mansion on regular occasions, which means there's video of that. That means there's video of that. As I once met Jen for coffee just before she was going to meet Trump and Epstein together at his mansion. I will shortly start forwarding you all the emails which I have managed to save.
Keep losing track of what I'm doing.
So, apparently, I didn't need to know this. I could have died a happy man without knowing this, but Trump has a fetish for flicking and sucking pert nipples until they're red and chafed. What the fuck? And so now, further verification that Trump indeed is caught red-handed.
Who decides
and
common
on
sense is my
literal
problem?
Videotape that Epstein was able to use for
Well,
blackmail.
I don't
And
think.
so now you wonder. Yet again, I'll make this point
I don't
one
think
more time.
like
You wonder why
Jeffrey Dahmer
Trump is
should
giving
be
Israel
the
literally
one
anything and
that's
everything
in
they
charge of,
Well, we know
you know,
Epstein
determining
was Mossad, which means,
age of consent
Israeli
laws.
intelligence
You know what I
has this
mean?
blackmail material
So
they could use on Trump.
I
So he
think that
greenlights anything and everything they want to do. You wonder why he
I think that
bombed
it's
Iran,
reason
for
that
example. Right? That's just one example, but it let them steal the Golan Heights
Like-
and annex it. This stuff is insane. Move the embassy to Jerusalem. All this stuff is insane.
Dude,
but now we know
it's.
there's a personal reason.
You know
why
what I
Trump
hate is
allows
like
it.
common
The other
sense.
thing
It
is,
feels
Trump has
it's
already
like it
sold
should be
out
something
Ukraine.
that's easy to explain.
Epstein was
But
a
then
bit
when
of
I
a
try, I
freelancer,
can't do
and
it.
He had all this blackmail. He would
You
work
know?
with different intelligence agencies all across the world.
Like
And so he also worked for Russian
killing is bad.
intelligence.
That sounds
So
common
they
sense,
may have
right?
blackmail material as well, right? CIA. I mean, you go down the list
Oh,
here.
no.
It is a
Anyway.
devastating. The president.
Moving on.
The president is blackmailed. The president is exposed. The president is not in a place to actually represent the American people. He's not in a place to
Distributor?
be a leader.
No,
He's not
done
in a
with that.
place
That's
to
just-
do his job properly.
Ugh, I can't get that yet.
It would be so easy to extort him over this shit. And here we are. So absolutely disturbing and disgusting stuff. And man, I wish I could use that little Men in Black thingy that erases your memory after hearing this thing about
I
pert nipples.
guess.
What the fuck? But it is a
Can I
clusterfuck
upgrade
to
the
say the least. And I don't know if Pam Bondi survives this.
Can
Right?
I upgrade
I
the
don't
fuel
know
scoop?
if the FBI
Hello.
survives it. Cash Patel, Dan Bongino. I don't know. There might be massive changes.
If it's common sense and getting an amendment for it
contempt
should be
hearings or
easy.
something, because they are
Again,
flagrantly violating the law.
You would
and
think
it's not even
it
close.
would be easy,
It's not even
but
close. The
because we
public
have
is
so many
outraged, and that's very apparent.
Hey, y'all,
corporate
do me a favor
lobbying and
like
special interest
subscribe. It
groups
helps out big time in the algorithm.
influencing our
Click the
candidates,
bell as well for notifications when videos
it's not
drop.
easy,
And watch
right?
that video on screen right now.
So again,
you know you want to.
I'm telling you,
All right,
I can
happy
trace
Saturday, y'all.
every single one of
Happy
these
Saturday.
problems
It is a very
back
rare
to
thing
campaign
where you
finance
get a
and
video from
lobbying,
me on a
corporate
Saturday,
lobbying, I should say.
But we just got the first batch of the Epstein files released yesterday, and I want to show you all of it. I do not want to wait until Monday, so here we are. A lot of stuff to get to. So first, let's start with this. Prem Thakur points out. So the Epstein files are, number 1, not complete. Number 2, comically redacted. Number 3, not in a searchable format. The Trump-Vance administration had months to recover from the embarrassing influencer binder photo op, and this is what they came up with. This is what they think of you. So he's exactly right here. They are very clearly violating not only the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law. And this is them gumming up the works. This is them clearly doing something illegal and hoping that they're going to get away with it. So as you can see, Prem literally points out the section of the law. It says, in general, not later than 30 days after the date of enactment of this act. The
Why
Attorney General
advocate
shall,
for letting Congress violate the law?
subsection
Because
B,
corporate lobbyists are
make publicly
influencing rather than
available
getting
in a
rid of the
searchable and
corporate lobbyists.
downloadable format all unclassified records. So
Wait, then why
we're going to talk about
advocate
this
for
in a
letting
little bit
Congress
too,
violate
but
the
it looks
law?
like there might actually be some
What?
consequences
I don't advocate
and some
for
justice
Congress
for the
violating
fact
what?
that they released this in a completely and utterly and obviously
Because corporate
illegal
lobbyists
way.
are influencing
Now, having said
them.
that, there are
Yes.
still things
Yes,
in
corporate
here
lobbyists are
that
influencing
they
them.
messed up.
Rather than
and
getting rid
they
of the corporate
accidentally
lobbyists.
forgot
What?
to redact because they're incredibly incompetent and they let it slip
I don't
through
understand the
cracks.
premise of the
And
question.
So there's actually a lot of juicy findings
I
in
don't
this,
advocate
even
for
though,
letting Congress
what they were
violate the
trying
law.
to do was effectively cover
And I
it
do
all
think
up.
we should
So
get
before
rid
I
of
go any
corporate
further,
lobbyists.
Let me show you this. Let me remind you of this. James O'Keefe, who used to be with Project
I don't know
Veritas,
how else
this
to answer that
right-wing
question
journalist.
because I don't think
He
I
now has
understand
left
what you were
Project
asking.
Veritas. He did an
Unless I did
unbelievable
answer
undercover
your question.
date with somebody, or he had, a female worker do an undercover date with somebody who works at the DOJ. And this person accidentally spilled the tea and said the quiet part out loud and let us know exactly what was going on behind the scenes with the Trump regime and what they're doing with the Epstein files. So listen to this.
Well, those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican
Maybe I want to start killing
or
things.
conservative person in those files. Leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
Okay, so the
Ooh,
Department
one
of
large
Justice
and four medium. Oh,
Deputy
nice.
Chief, Acting Deputy Chief Joseph Schnitt said on the Epstein files, quote, they'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files and
if you wanted
leave
to pass
all
gun
of the
laws which
liberal
violate the
Democratic people
Constitution
in those files. So he
without
was
amendment,
admitting up front what
Caesar
we
could
all
pass that legislation because you
suspected.
can't get an amendment
Remember
to
there was
corporate
that
lobbyists. No,
article
if
that
not,
came
then I
out
apologize.
very early on in the Trump regime that they had ordered the FBI
Well, the thing is
to
like,
redact Trump's name
I
in
don't
the
think
Epstein
that
files.
passing
Now, I should
gun
also point out,
legislation
when the
requiring
Epstein
things
estate
like
was
red
subpoenaed
flag laws,
and 23,000
I don't think that
Epstein
those do
emails were
violate the
released.
Constitution.
Guess who was the #1 person referenced
For
in
the
those
same
emails?
reason that
It was Donald Trump.
the same logic I mentioned
emails,
before.
He was referenced about 1,600
If-
times more than anybody else,
if,
and they want you to believe that
if
he
you-
wasn't referenced at all
if we
in the Epstein files. Okay,
are
more.
allowed to,
This is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, and you guys remember this. He was on
if we are
Nation,
allowed
and he
to
said he knows
pass
that
laws
they're
preventing
sanitizing the files and removing Republican
violent
names.
offenders,
But I do
convicted
want to
felons,
say
not even
that
violent
I've
offenders,
been
convicted
recently
felons,
told
felony,
The reason they're going to be releasing these things, the reason for the flip, is that they're sanitizing
then,
these files.
because
They're
of public
filming in
safety,
Winchester, Virginia,
then,
scrubbing the files to take
somebody who is
That's what I was told by a pretty good source.
in
There
a
you go,
relationship
literally
where
even
there's
saying it's
spousal
happening in
abuse,
Winchester, Virginia. Okay.
then
Well, look at this.
considering
Fox
how many
News
spouses are
confirms
killed,
that the DOJ
especially by
hid the
firearms,
identities of what they call politically
then
exposed individuals in the Epstein
in the
files.
name of public
Fox News
safety,
Digital has learned that the
there's
same
no way that
redaction
that should be,
standards
that's
will apply to
unconstitutional.
politically
You know what I
exposed
mean?
Individuals and government officials. So this is a fancy schmancy way of saying we are absolutely positively going to protect the Republicans, going to protect Trump, going
But
to protect the
it's
people
not
in the
applied
regime,
equally.
and we are going to immediately throw
Does the
any
federal government
Democrats
have a
that we
general
possibly
policing
can
power? Does the
directly under
Constitution
the
grant?
bus. So look at this. Ro Khanna reported that Kash Patel said he had 300 gigabytes of Epstein files. And guess what was released yesterday? Only
Federal government have a
2.5
general policing
gigabytes
power. Does the Constitution
have
grant
been
one?
released. That's less than 1% of the Epstein files
No, it would be-
were released yesterday. They
No,
are
okay, so like let's say
flagrantly
what I'm saying.
breaking the law.
I'm talking about
Flagrantly.
states. Let's say
So again,
a
we'll talk
state
more in a little bit about
passes
what's being done about that. How about this?
a law
Entire documents and image and video albums
that
redacted
says
in today's release of the Epstein files. There's like 116-page.
this is at the
grand
state
jury
level.
thing.
I'm talking about
Every
states right
single
now.
part of that, completely and
If a
utterly
state passes a
redacted.
law saying
Every
that
single
if
part
you
of it. I mean,
are
look at this. This is a joke.
if you are arrested
This is a joke. Most
for
transparent
spousal
administration in
abuse,
history, my ass cheeks.
then
is all I
by
have to say
law
about
we have
that.
to confiscate all your
right, more.
firearms.
So this is where they
Yeah,
forgot
okay.
or they messed up and were attempting
A
to
state
redact
can
everything
do
involving
that,
Trump.
but
But
how many
they missed some stuff.
red states
So
actually
look at
do
this.
that?
Guess the DOJ forgot to redact these pictures of Trump found in Epstein's desk drawer. So if you look closely here,
So I
like many pictures in
like
this, it's almost like
okay,
he had
so
a drawer full
you have to remember
of Trump pictures. A drawer
you have
full
to
of
remember
Trump
I'm not a
pictures here.
constitutionalist.
And then of course
you
you
know
have
I'm not a
the Epstein
federalist.
picture with Mohammed
You know
bin Salman,
that
the
is
leader of
not
Saudi Arabia.
me.
You have him with
When
one of
I
the
am
previous
promoting
popes.
a policy,
So, man, they
when
had
I'm
a
promoting
lot of
a
dirt on me. It
policy,
looks like there's literally a Trump drawer
I don't
here.
care
Also,
what level it
you
gets
see, like,
implemented
a
at.
stack of
You know what I mean?
papers. I wonder what these papers are in the Trump drawer. I mean, this is stuff that should be released by law. It has to be released, but they're refusing to release it. But they messed up and accidentally left in. You can see some of the Trump pictures here. Look at the bottom drawer here.
What is it?
See Trump's face. See another picture with Trump and a bunch of women in bikinis underneath it.
You swore an oath
so
to the
they
Constitution.
fucked up.
Did you not?
They did not mean to release this one. They certainly would have tried to hide this one. And,
to get into the military?
By
Yeah.
the way, they also, we'll talk about this more in a second, but when they realized they fucked up, they went back and tried to remove this stuff. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. So the whole world
Oh
saw
shit!
it.
I want to see if this is a good.
They posted about it. They showed it, and then when it became clear to Kash Patel, the
actually start
FBI idiots,
fighting
and the
things.
DOJ, and Pam Bondi, they go, "Oh shit, Trump's going to be bad." Then they went back and removed it. Okay, how about this? Again, they tried to redact stuff, but they missed something here. The check Trump gave to
But
Epstein
remember,
for $22,500 for a, quote, fully depreciated
when you're talking
woman
about an oath to the
has
Constitution,
shown up in a new photo in the Epstein files,
whose
where
interpretation
Epstein is pictured
interpretation are
holding the
you
check, standing
asking?
next to
Like,
a woman, looks like Trump
do
forgot
you
to
think
redact
that
this,
I should have
because if you look
sworn
at the
my
check
oath
here,
to your
look at the bottom of the
interpretation of the
check.
Constitution?
What name does that
Should I
say?
have sworn
It
to
says Trump. And here's another
Donald
question.
Trump's interpretation of the
fuck?
Constitution?
Why the fuck is
Like,
this framed? Why did you frame a picture of Jeffrey
like
Epstein
that-
buying a depreciated woman from
like,
you,
just-
or actually quite the other way around, actually. So Trump buying a depreciated
I
woman
have no
from
issue
Jeffrey Epstein. Like,
admitting
you know,
that I
it's basically
don't know a lot
proving the human trafficking allegations
about
saying,
the
"Oh, we
ins
were
and outs of the
we
history
were
of the
just joking around
Constitution.
and stuff, bro.
You know?
This is your idea of a joke?
Oh,
Let's go get a
milk.
comically large check made that
Thank you.
says my name on it, where
Woo!
I'm buying a
Thank you.
woman for $22,500.
Why is a spoon in here?
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. So this is the picture. They
What is it with the
accidentally forgot
spoons?
to redact the part that says Trump, which is hilarious. And then also the original picture. This is the original picture here. So
Ooh.
These were separate pictures.
Milk
that
with
were
honey is
taken
good.
With this check. Apparently,
I don't
they
think
were
I've ever
taking
had that,
pictures
to be
all
honest
over the
with
place with this check at Mar-a-Lago, by the way.
I
But there
don't
you
know
have
how
it.
these work.
You have the purchasing of a fully depreciated woman. Imagine for a second.
So
this was any Democratic president. You would never
while
hear the
you
fucking end
are
of it. They would say, "Oh my God, pound the gavel! It's over."
a member
this guy's some
of
sort of disgusting pervert. This is
the
crazy.
military
This
service,
is crazy. All right.
then you are
Thousands of
sworn
Epstein
to
photos are
uphold the
releasing.
Constitution.
So I believe here we have a
Right.
video, and I'm going to go ahead and play
So
it for you.
what that
and
means
we'll
is
pause as
like
we see fit.
your
Here we go.
actions while in
All
the
right, so this is,
service
Bill Clinton wearing a red hoodie
are
with, I don't know who.
bound
Jeffrey Epstein wearing
by
some sort of robe. It looks like either on
the
his
Constitution.
island
That's
or
what
some
that
other
means.
tropical getaway.
That's how I figured out how to read the Constitution.
We have this
Oh,
is the one that
Strickler-
everybody's talking about here. So we have
Faithful
Bill Clinton
results.
in a
But yeah,
pool,
that's your opinion.
and looks to be shirtless. It does kind of
See,
look
this
like
is
he's
this is the
wearing,
thing. Like,
you know, a swimsuit though.
I
It looks like darker
keep
in the
getting
area
the
where swimsuit
feeling
is. So it looks like he's wearing a swimsuit.
when
but
you're telling me
who
these
knows
things
who the hell else is in this pool with him?
that
They redacted the face here.
you
Somebody
believe
did,
that
shout out to
your
Political
opinion
Punk on YouTube,
is
'cause he did,
is the correct
He
one.
went and found out what pool
Even
this
though
was. Apparently this is like
there
the
have
Empire
been
Hotel in Brunei
multiple
is where they
different
were. That's where this pool
interpretations
is.
and opinions
All right, let's keep going here.
across
You have Jeffrey Epstein with I don't
you
even know
know,
what's going on here.
across
It looks like
party lines, across
underage
education
girls,
levels,
maybe?
right?
Kneeling almost in some sort of like monastery type situation.
For example,
and he's looking at them, very
one
bizarre.
representative
Very
you
bizarre.
may or may
Ghislaine
not know who he
Maxwell
is,
with the
Jamie
puppy,
Raskin.
dressed in some like Air
Like
Force
he is
attire,
a
it appears
constitutional law
Bill
professor
Clinton,
before he got elected to
somewhere in
Congress,
Asia, it
right?
looks like, wearing his suit.
You know what I mean?
Bill
Like
Clinton with
we're
somebody else
talking
wearing
like
a
a
Jordan shirt.
PhD in constitutional law,
Bill
okay?
Clinton, Kevin Spacey,
And
maybe some other people here that are famous that I
someone
can't,
at that level
think of at the
of
moment, but
constitutional
looks
law
like they're at-
education,
almost
I am
looks like
going to
they're at
take
some
what they
hibachi
say
place,
seriously.
right? Bill Clinton with
And I
somebody else,
guarantee
Kevin
you, if
Spacey
you
walking
listen to
in
what
what
he
looks like
says,
Central Park in New York City, but I
based
could be
on
wrong
what
about that.
you feel, what you believe is the
We got
right
Bill
way
Clinton,
to interpret
Kevin
it,
Spacey, some
you
other
would not
people.
agree with a lot of
You
the
know,
things
looks
that he
like-
says.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Is this from when he was president? I doubt it, but maybe
So I
from
think-
just when he was out of the presidency.
I think you need to take
Chris
into
Tucker,
context
Chris Tucker, who went on
like,
many trips with Jeffrey Epstein.
the
Let's keep going
the
here.
difference
Jeffrey Epstein
in
with I don't know some very large
time
feral
spent
dogs.
like
Here we have Bill
gaining
Clinton
the
with,
education, actually
I mean,
executing
shit,
it. You know what I
don't
mean?
Who that is. It kind of looks like it might be Virginia Giuffre. But some young
Humble
woman,
yourself.
some young
That's
girl.
what I mean.
It appears like. Let's keep going. This one is Michael Jackson, Diana Ross. Now the two faces that are blacked out here. That are
And plus,
redacted,
like,
it's
you got to
actually
remember
their
another
kids.
thing
It's actually their kids.
is like
So and now I should
when I'm
also point
talking,
out,
when I'm
this
proposing
picture
like
was already released. I believe it was
changes
like
to
2003 or something
policies.
Like that. This picture came out. So it
it's
was
not
already part of the
coming
public
from
record, because the
a place
redactions
that
makes
like
it look like
I think that they're
you know, they
allowed
were
to do
directly
this. Like I'm not
involved
saying it because I
with
think that they're
Epstein.
allowed to do
And,
it.
that's a little bit misleading.
You know what I
So,
mean?
and we'll have more on that in a little bit.
I
tried
think
to, like, They try to like do
the
some
Supreme
head fakes here
Court
to get
did
people
rule that
talking
bump
about
stocks
something
were
other than Donald Trump.
constitutionally
And this was one of
allowed,
them, but it
right?
kind of
Like
fell
they,
flat 'cause people were able to see through
states were not allowed to
we got a
regulate
dinner
bump
here
stocks, right?
with Mick Jagger.
But that's
Looks
still
like
not
Ghislaine
going to stop me
Maxwell,
from
Bill
saying
Clinton,
that
and then
that's
some other
bullshit
people I
and that
don't
should
know.
be
There's,
like
Mick
I
Jagger,
see
Ghislaine
nothing wrong
Maxwell,
with
Bill
that
Clinton,
being
Mick Jagger, Ghislaine
outlawed. You know what I mean?
I don't know who
Going
these
based on the
people
people
are,
who
but
wrote
there's
it
Jeffrey
in the
Epstein and
first
Bill
court
Clinton.
case as well as court cases
Chris Tucker
throughout
with
the
somebody.
1800s. And I'm willing to
Don't know
bet
who either one of these guys are.
that
Don't know what's going on here.
somebody
Looks like
with
some
a
sort of karaoke bar
PhD
or
in
something.
constitutional law,
I'm not exactly sure.
I'm willing to bet that they have read
Jeffrey
more
Epstein, don't know
court
where this
cases than
is.
you.
Almost looks like it's in Greece or some
I'm
shit,
willing to bet
right? You got those
that
tiny
they have
helicopter,
a
Jeffrey
better,
Epstein,
complete
Huntress,
understanding
Georgetown,
of the
guy.
progression of
Okay.
decisions.
This one is crazy.
You know, from
because this guy, he looks like some
from the
fat
first Supreme
billionaire,
Court case
right?
until
I don't know
now.
who it is.
I'm
He looks
willing
like
to
some
bet
fat
that.
billionaire. He's
I
on
would
the
put
phone.
money on that if
Then
I
you
were
see
gambling.
Jeffrey Epstein standing there with what is clearly an underage girl. Clearly an underage girl, right? So this looks like Jeffrey Epstein is like.
I'm willing to bet
delivering
that they have
an
written more
underage girl
papers
to a fat
on
billionaire
various topics.
to do you know
that
what.
they have, you know,
So
studied, you
absolutely
know,
disturbing this one
influences
is.
of,
Holy cow. All right, then we have
you know,
some,
cases
some
that were
other
50
documents
years
here.
old. You know,
Well, I
like,
got so much more
and
to
how
show
they
you, so let's
interact
jump
with
into that.
more with newer
So this is
cases.
the power
So
of deceit via redaction. Epstein's 95-page black book was published in full 5 years ago. I thought it was actually longer than that. Wasn't it Gawker that published it? MJ's contact in it was Sam Jen, an attorney for a very short-term advisor to MJ, to Michael Jackson. But a new DOJ release, you'd believe this was MJ's direct details within it. So they redacted everything underneath it and made it look like, oh, look, this is Michael Jackson stuff in Epstein's black book. But it wasn't. It said Michael Jackson up top, but it was really his attorney.
wait a second. I wanted to
Samuel
buy all
Jen,
the ships. That's
and
what
it
I
had
was
the
doing.
information for his attorney.
I wanted to buy all the ships.
So this is them. It's like they're trying to divert
What ship do I
attention
have
and
now?
like, oh
Dang
yeah,
it.
talk about Bill Clinton, talk about Michael Jackson. Whatever you do, do not talk about Donald Trump.
Type
And
6.
so this
I
was
hate this ship.
incredibly
I want
dishonest,
to get the
the way
next
that
one.
they handled this one here. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is just flat out dishonest. All right, let's go. We got some
But I
more
do
here.
want to finish
So I
upgrading
told
it
you
though.
that
Dang it.
When they accidentally left some Trump stuff in there, they went back and
I want to
removed
finish upgrading
File
it, but I don't
468
want to
is
go
now
through the
missing. It was one
process of
few
upgrading it.
files that showed Trump. They deleted that one, which looks like the clearest sign yet of a cover-up. So this is what we showed before.
Okay, you know,
he has like literally a Trump drawer
stick to the
that
plan.
has a whole bunch
Stick to
of
the
Trump
plan.
pictures
What's the
in
next
there.
one?
Some Trump with what looks like girls, underage girls, and then they went back and removed it. It goes from 467 to 469. So
Shield
holy
generator.
cow.
That's
Holy
the next
cow.
one.
They're
Okay.
trying-
Who
they're trying to
upgrades
get
shield
ahead of it.
generators?
Now this one is honestly, I think one of the craziest things we're going to see is right here. So the day before the full, some of the Epstein files came out, we had the Oversight Dems release some of their Epstein stuff. And you had the Miami Herald do an article releasing some of the stuff they had. And boy, oh boy, was this one a gold mine. So I told you the other day, we have a smoking gun that he was running a human trafficking ring. A smoking gun. Because look at this text message. Look at this. I don't know, try to send someone else. I have a friend scout, she sent me some girls today, but she asked for $1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone will be good for Jay. And then it says name, 18 years old, height, measurements, weight, blah, blah, blah. So this is like, they're literally talking like, they're selling a car or something. Like, hey, what's the 0 to 60? What's the horsepower? So on and so forth. They're talking about literally like selling girls. Selling girls here. So caught red-handed on that.
Oh, shit.
We also have little passages from the book Lolita, which is about a famous pedophile, and they write.
They don't learn the document. They learn what the court has said on it. It doesn't
looks
matter.
like these underage girls.
Yeah, because it's basically like, okay,
Jesus Christ,
so
more. So you got
for
more.
example, I'll interpret this
she was poly at school.
in like
what the fuck?
From
More
a
stuff
like
written here.
military
By the way, another
perspective.
point people have made.
Right.
Some of these pictures look like Donald Trump.
Your
wrote
chain of
that,
command, you have,
that birthday
your
letter to Jeffrey Epstein. It was like a
your
birthday
squad
love
leader,
letter saying, we
and then
have
your
a lot in
platoon
common,
sergeant,
Jeff,
right?
don't we?
If
well, it looked like this, right?
If
like
I
writing
get
inside of a body or writing on an underage girl's body, right? And
and
that's exactly what's going on here.
the commander
There might be some sort
of the
connection
company,
there as
typically
well.
captain in the army.
So then you have
if they
passport
say,
here, Jeffrey
hey,
Epstein
this shit's
passport
got to
here.
get done, right?
You have, as we scroll down, I
your
told you this is another
squad
smoking
leader
gun that
is
he's running
going to
human
be like,
trafficking
okay,
on.
here's
He had
our
all
part.
these
Here's what we're
different
doing on this, right?
Passports.
And then, like,
for
let's
girls
say
from all these different countries.
that squad leader
Post-Soviet
says, okay,
bloc
do this.
countries where there's a lot
God
of
damn it,
poverty.
hold on.
Look at this. All these different passports for all these different underage girls.
Oh my god, so freaky. Everyone, I hope, God, these stupid, smug, rich, like, motherfuckers think they're untouchable. Like, God, they need to all get So infuriating. Anyway, so like let's say the squad leader, right? He's like the direct line over the squad. He tells you, okay, here's our part in this. Here's what you're going to do this X, Y, and Z. And then he goes off to do his work, because typically once you become like a squad leader, there's more paperwork. It's like the physical stuff is mostly the lower enlisted guys. Anyway, now let's say about 15 minutes later, the platoon sergeant comes along, and it's like, oh, I need you guys to do X, Y. I need you guys to do something else. And we're like, well, wait a second. Our squad leader said to do this, and he's like, well, I need you to do this first. I need you to do something else first. Like, we have to, follow the most recent update. You know what I mean? So, it doesn't matter what the captain said had to get done. It didn't matter what our squad leader told us to do. What mattered was the most recent order given by the person in charge, right? And that's the same concept here. I hope that makes sense. I've accepted as modern law, but not what? Oh wait, the court says the First Amendment doesn't govern speech, then the First Amendment doesn't govern. Yeah. See, fuck that, man. I can't be on board with that. Okay. Like, why are you reluctant to call out bullshit? Like that right there. The First Amendment doesn't. It clearly does cover speech. If they said it, like why would you just roll over on that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get that. I don't get it. Like, don't be afraid to call out bullshit. It doesn't matter what it says, And then we vote to elect representatives that reflect those same principles, right? And hopefully they get enough support in the legislature to get some kind of change passed. Because it doesn't matter, the Constitution is whatever the court says it is. That's true also. But I'm still going to call out bullshit. Partisan gerrymandering is bullshit. Even though the Supreme Court said it's okay to partisan gerrymander, just not racially gerrymander. Like, no. Like, that's stupid. Like, any person with a marginal, any person that has any wrinkles on their brain knows that it's not partisan gerrymandering. Like, and just the fact that the Supreme Court is like, heard there, close. Oh, yep, that's partisan. Clearly not racial. I don't see anything. Like, come on. Like, don't be afraid to call out bullshit.
It is very, very clear what was happening here. More of that right here. Lithuania. Passport for a girl from Lithuania. How about this? Noam Chomsky. Noam broke everybody's heart, man. Holy shit, Noam. You broke everybody's heart, man. So here's Noam on Epstein's private jet. Come on, bro. You got Bill Gates, who, of course, his wife divorced him because he was so close with Jeffrey Epstein, and she was going. This is weird. This is kind of unacceptable. We have Woody Allen here with Jeffrey Epstein. That is unsurprising given Woody Allen's history, if you know what I'm saying.
Colonia.
We have this
I'm
billionaire
dreading
dinner.
The trip to Colonia.
Jeffrey Epstein set up this billionaire dinner.
10,000 light
David Brooks,
years
the conservative
away
commentator, was
from
there.
the
This guy was just poo-pooing the Epstein scandal in November. It turns out he was part of the Epstein scandal. He was at this billionaire dinner. Here he is having a grand old time, smiling into the camera. There's another one of Jeffrey Epstein.
From the history of the
here's
okay,
so guys, as I
spend a lot of time on it because I enjoy it.
Some of these guys
I spend a lot of time looking at material directly and learning how to read old
English. You have Elon Musk was at this dinner.
Why don't you go back to school and pursue a PhD?
This one here, but
and you can dedicate your 100-page dissertation, your PhD thesis on just that exact thing. That should be easy for you then.
What else we got? Is this from that same dinner? I'm not sure if this is from that same dinner or not. But a lot of this stuff is chilling. How about this one? Here's Jeffrey Epstein with clearly an underage girl. It appears like in a helicopter pointing out the window.
Like, if you like it, I don't know what's holding you up from pursuing it,
like
as a
3 girls,
as an education career. You know what I mean?
Or something in this
education / career.
2 other girls there, and Lord only knows what goes on.
I don't know. Maybe you might learn something along the way.
You got this weird picture in the
that's
background.
Like, oh shit, I hadn't considered that. You know what I mean?
Going on with that.
Or it might confirm everything you already think. Who knows?
We got more. Did Jeffrey Epstein in traditional
you just consider
a
discredited.
traditional Saudi outfit, right? This is a traditional Saudi outfit.
You are afraid.
Very interesting.
Of
very interesting stuff here. I don't know who some of these people are here. Sloppy Steve.
You
Bannon,
discrediting your own view based on something you learn is what I think.
Steve.
That's my own. That's
By the way,
my own perception.
Out the picture on the desk here. Very disturbing. It's Epstein with an underage girl. Very, very disturbing stuff. So this was all, again, to be clear, all this stuff, this is the weird temple that's on his island. People still, to this day, don't even know what the hell this shit was used for. Weird temple on his island. Very bizarre. But this was all the stuff that was released the day before the Epstein files released. The Miami Herald had an incredible article basically proving he's doing international human trafficking, and a lot of this stuff came out before. Okay, more. Now, this is probably some of the most disturbing stuff from the actual 1% that was released. You're going to see a lot of redactions here, but this is one of those ones where I understand why there are redactions, because holy cow. So, here's Jeffrey Epstein, and you have the face redacted. It appears like an underage girl. It appears like an underage girl. Okay, more. Once upon a time, there was a clueless little girl. How do I look? And you see it's an underage girl, right? Holy shit. Then, what is he doing? He would
this dude was so creepy.
I mean, not...
Like, what happens to people to where, like, they just...
Underage girl.
Like, their brain just becomes so broken that they resort to this kind of stuff.
Upside down. I met you, those eyes are blue, and the little teeth.
Is it just like when people become that wealthy, they're just like...
This looks like we're looking at something
they
totally
lose all sense of, like, what's socially acceptable, or, like,
how do I look? Oh my god.
What's legitimately disgusting.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
thirst trap postings of what's clearly an underage
are they just bored?
I played the cards.
Like, what the heck?
What? Here you have, again, pictures of an underage girl or multiple underage girls, the private jet. First Xmas, oh my goodness, I will be the first. What? Came, is my cover blown? What could this be? I learned, what? It looks like, what does he have him on a leash here or something? Looks like he has him on a leash here. Looks like he's licking something here too. Oh, man. And grew. I don't know. Here's two girls. Is that Jeffrey in the middle, or is that another girl? I don't know. Here's a double picture of the little girl kneeling on the beach, I guess. I beautified, and like injections into his head or something. Okay. Took care of you. Oh, God. Golf cart, and it says B. Him and, I guess, the girl again. 4, and it's Epstein with a sword, and before and after. Okay, wearing a suit. Not quite sure what's going on here. Brazil, Berlin, Czech Milk, Prague, Dubai. We traveled. Jesus Christ. You're the beast. Oh, really? You're so sweet to me. I like Prague. I know. I am working on it.
Don't you wonder, like...
Paris, it says...
What is in these files that they haven't shown that has, like, Trump and his administration, like, fighting so hard to keep them from coming out? You know what I mean?
No mustard. What are we looking at? This is on the Department of Justice website, y'all. This is on the Department of Justice website. Don't know what's happening here. I will get you. Now you drive. 2007, September 17th. Again, more. Look, you could tell this is an underage girl.
Oh, man.
Look at how young this girl looks.
I had like 6 people in here at one point.
That's a young girl.
Sad.
That's a young girl.
Down to 4.
Here's another one with Jeffrey Epstein, seemingly.
I should probably just quit my stream while I'm ahead.
That is disturbing. That's like, you know, a long
While my average is higher than 3. That'd be a record.
How about this?
I think the highest I averaged one day was like...
To or from Epstein cell.
I want to say it was like 2.3.
References expired name reservations for
viewers, I think.
Max Mira Films Inc., which is an
really up there,
really
up there.
The company
Here I come, Streamer Awards.
By Harvey Weinstein. That's the thing. We already knew Harvey Weinstein met with Jeffrey Epstein, and didn't they meet at Prince Andrew's, like one of these castles, one of these official?
Do you also wonder why, like, once
there's a picture of them all together, and, like, apparently
when people start getting
frequented
getting investigated
let's say,
for like sexual abuse and stuff, they all of a sudden turn Republican.
Jeffrey Epstein kept a boat log.
They turn MAGA. That's pretty freaking weird.
At Little and Greater St. James Island. Many of the names
Russell Brand
have been
comes
redacted.
to mind.
Yes, many of the names being Republicans, being MAGA, and being billionaire donors. Those are the names that are redacted. Obviously, you left in all the stuff about Bill Clinton because you wanted everybody to be talking about Bill Clinton. All right, how about this? So you guys know this photo came out not that long ago. Jeffrey Epstein wearing an IDF sweatshirt. Well, it turns out the FBI found that exact sweatshirt and took a picture of it when they raided Jeffrey Epstein's
I think CTE.
So there's that sweatshirt right there.
I think there's a link between CTE and voting Republican.
Epstein's depraved handbook revealing he would make sure.
Or I should say MAGA. That's what I should say. That's what I really mean.
So he would check their ID to make sure they're under 18.
Because it's weird how how many UFC fighters
Isn't that insane?
and NFL players
like that. So
are like into MAGA. You know what I mean? I really think that there's a causal link there. To my previous messages, because my view is considered discredited since the court said so. I read that one. Maybe I didn't read it out loud. But that was my reply where I said I think that I didn't say subconsciously, but that's what I meant. I think subconsciously you are afraid of having your view changed by like new information, or maybe not new necessarily, but new to you. You know what I mean? Like maybe you might be exposed to a different way of
sexual slavery off Amazon.
A different perspective. You know what I mean?
The middle book here. It says Slavecraft.
That one, bro. Well, let me send it.
Erotic servitude, principles, skills, and tools.
I'm not seeing. Hold on. Let me.
Training with Miss Abernathy, a workbook for erotic slaves and their
Was it
owners.
blocked?
Jesus Christ.
Hold on, I don't have my
Breaking. Trump's name appears dozens of times in the logs.
Oh, is it like really long?
To Epstein's Island. Trump was on Epstein's Island.
I'm not seeing any blocked messages. That's weird.
You scroll down and you see here.
Okay.
Not only did
Too
Trump
many
go,
words.
It was Trump and his wife
considering
at the time,
what
Marla
we're talking,
Maples,
no change
and it
made.
was
I'm
Tiffany.
surely not going to discredit
Tiffany's
my interview.
his daughter.
Based on
Tiffany's
so
like
you're stubborn.
outcast
You're admitting
daughter,
you're stubborn.
But Tiffany was the daughter. So according to
What's
the
up?
flight logs, she was there
Huh?
on Epstein Island. Jesus Christ!
You're in the store? Oh, okay.
Nothing happened to her. My God, man.
I don't think so.
Disturbing. All right, how about this? Yashar Ali points out from the Epstein files.
Well, at least
Epstein
you're self-aware
burn someone's
enough
house
to know
down
that
if
you're
they
too
revealed he
stubborn
stole photos
to
of young girls and sold them
to entertain
and had other photos taken. Holy shit.
to entertain the
Holy
possibility
shit.
of
So,
your
guess
mind
what? As they
being
point out
swayed.
here, in 1996, Maria Farmer bravely became the first woman to go to the authorities about Jeffrey Epstein. She warned that he stole photos of her 12 and
Non-delegation doctor
14-year-old
goes all the
sisters
way back to
to
Whalen case, I
possibly
believe.
sell.
Commerce goes back to Gibbons.
I just spoke to her and she
Yeah,
said
I
she
literally
was
have
over the
no
moon
idea what either
that
of
this
those
has
cases
come
are,
out.
so I can't.
She is crying
I'm
with
not
her
going to weigh in
sister
on that.
because this validates her entire
But
story.
I'm more
It
drawn
proves
to
she was
the.
telling the truth.
I'm
And
assuredly
the
not going to
FBI,
discredit
for a
my
fucking
own view based on whatever
for a
information
decade,
they present.
did nothing. The FBI was told.
Yeah, because
this
you
freaky
don't.
guy, he stole photos
You
of
don't
my
want to
12-year-old,
study it because you
14-year-old,
don't want.
siblings, and
You don't want to
Lord knows
learn
what
more
else
about
he's
it.
up to. This guy's a pedophile.
You think you know
You
enough.
got to do something about this.
There's always
the
more.
FBI
There's
sat
always
on
more.
that for a fucking decade and did nothing. This verifies everything Maria Farmer said. Holy shit. Holy shit. All right. Epstein's Foundation funded transhumanist projects like Peter Thiel's life extension research and Ray Kurzweil's AI work at the Machine Intelligence Research Institute.
For example,
it also financed MIT's Media Lab and
like I'll make a claim.
Program for Evolutionary Dynamics.
I'm just
going to
make a generalized claim that like.
So anytime you hear Peter Thiel talking about transhumanism and
like,
making it so that we evolve
on,
out of being
let me think of
something better, into something more cyborg-like.
Simple, just to make
remember,
a point. Like
this is Epstein stuff here. This is Epstein
like
stuff.
stealing money's wrong.
Updated
right?
eugenics.
I am
That's
willing
what they want to do. They are anti-human.
to listen to someone's opinion
project. This cabal
that would say that no, there's
pedophile
nothing wrong with stealing. Like I genuinely want to hear
absolutely disgusting.
what
All right,
someone has to say
Ro Khanna
if
says,
they feel that stealing is
files
okay.
the DOJ produces
You know what I
will be
mean?
thoroughly cross-checked with the survivor's
I
attorneys
already
to make
know
sure
what they would
nothing was
teach.
illegally omitted. So he came out in reaction to what went down here.
So
and he's not mincing words. Let's listen.
Hold on.
What's the process going to be now to go through it and make sure they actually abided by this law?
So if you know what they would teach, then it should be really easy for you.
we're going to see what explanation they're
It should be really easy for you to get achieve that education.
We're going to see
Since you, I mean, you already know.
Congress within 15 days of what things they had classified or things that they could not release and whether they were legitimate. And fourth, we're going to see on the timeline, when are we going to get the rest of the documents?
Look, man, you got to understand that, like, there is always more to learn.
Subjecting themselves to
always.
And then depending on overall how we assess the release, you know, there can
refusing to learn more.
Contempt, but I don't want to
that's just called willful ignorance.
Complying, I'll be the first person to say they're complying. I mean, I much rather they comply and survivors get justice and we get closure than Massey and I are looking at how.
And like even if at the end of the day,
breaking news
right?
For you here. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey are
even
moving
if you
ahead with
don't
impeachment
agree
on Pam Bondi,
with
they're moving ahead with impeachment because they violated the letter of the law and the spirit of the law so fucking thoroughly.
What's the word I'm looking for?
They have no choice but to do it. So shout out to Ro Khanna, shout out to Thomas Massey.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of.
Here. We got more from Ro Khanna.
We're actually this morning talking.
Even if you don't
agree
agree
to give them some benefit of the
with
doubt,
a professor's take on something,
but what we found out is the most important documents are missing. They've had excessive redactions.
What even that will give you an insight into the alternate perspective, right?
So those two
you know what I mean?
That you were told by the survivor's attorneys
you'll gain a better understanding of the counterfactual, right? Even if you don't agree with it. So there's always a benefit.
Neither of them are in
always.
And to the extent the drafter's intent of a law matters, Thomas Massey and I explicitly drafted it to cover those two documents. And you had 3 federal judges look at our law and say, release everything.
Why did you put a spoon in here?
You
so
had
weird.
judges saying release it, and then the Department of Justice is redacting it. Now, I know what they're thinking. They think, okay, it's going to be Christmas. They're going to do
I didn't
this
say I don't want
release,
to learn more.
I'm
saying I don't want to be a lawyer in the
that's
system.
what they thought,
That's the thing. You don't have to be a
the
lawyer.
Administration thought when they shut down Congress early before the August recess.
Like,
all right, we're still not done though.
You don't have to be a lawyer.
You won't find in today's Epstein doc release the following.
You can get a law degree
interested in records that would help explain how
without
Epstein grew
becoming
so
a
wealthy,
lawyer. You know what I mean?
To be found. Want to read emails from federal prosecutors deciding who to charge and equally importantly who not to charge during their 2019 investigation? You're out of luck.
Like you
Curious
could.
about the role of Maureen Comey, the prosecutor who
you could
co-led
legitimately
the
be like a.
conspirators, Ghislaine Maxwell, before being fired without explanation in July.
What's the
Nothing
word?
from her to see
oh my
here.
gosh.
Holy shit. Holy shit. So
you know what? I lost my train of
all
thought.
this stuff is missing.
No,
Brazenly
just
missing. Like I said, less than 1% of the actual files were released.
Just getting
more.
like
Here's Ro Khanna yet again. This time on CNN. Let's listen.
Just getting a like a PhD in law.
The Deputy Attorney General said he's received
like you don't even need to do that. That's like extra. You know what I mean?
Leave his name out of it and leave
like
other names out
to
of it.
go to law school, you can have a bachelor's in pretty much anything, and then you take the LSAT, and then you go to law school, which is like kind of the equivalent of a master's degree, right? But no, you can actually pursue. You can pursue like a PhD in specific like areas of the law. You know what I mean? And given your interest in constitutional law, that's probably what it would be. But no, you don't have to be a lawyer. Oh shit! Why would I want a law degree if I don't want to go into legal?
They trust those women, and they are going to be back on the Hill.
Why would I want a law degree? No.
So
You can do other legal stuff. Like you could be a law professor. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is, you could work. You could work for like think tanks. You know, you could help. You could craft legislation. You know what I mean? Like that's just like a tip of the iceberg, right?
The GOP kept voting not to show the Epstein
but no.
files while Trump is president.
You don't have to specifically become a lawyer.
They refused because Trump is president.
You know what I mean?
Do you get it now? Do you understand?
You can study law. You're allowed.
Trump wasn't only Epstein's buddy.
And you can have a career
in
law.
They were twin predators.
Or
says here from Brian Tyler Cohen, breaking the Trump administration
using your law education without specifically becoming a lawyer is what I mean.
How many times have we heard that? How many times have we heard that? This is from Dino Badala. DOJ must release hard drives of the video Jeffrey Epstein secretly took of people entering his houses. Photos below are the hard drives confiscated by the DOJ from Epstein's New York City house and were marked as exhibits in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. We need to see who abused the women and girls. But guys, look at this. This was all in Jeffrey Epstein's house. All of this stuff that you're seeing, look at this. All of this, countless videos of what went on in his properties, plural, not singular, plural. Remember, there was an email that came out from 2011 from Jeffrey Epstein's emails saying, Trump is at the house right now with one of the victims. He's been there for hours. That was this house in New York. That was this house in New York, okay? So we know there's blackmail on the president. The president can be coerced. There's blackmail on the president.
Oh,
and Jeffrey Epstein
so freaking
had it,
tired.
which means potentially the KGB had it and Mossad had it. Okay?
I think this is going to be a short streaming night. I don't want to though, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to go to legal stuff. I enjoy studying as a hobby. Yeah, I get that.
Again, he's blackmailed.
Like,
so not
you
only
probably,
this, I go a step
I'm
further,
willing, like, you're afraid that, like, if it becomes something you have to do, then it won't be something that you enjoy to do anymore.
Who was in those rooms, right?
I could see that.
He said the
It's what's funny is like the opposite happened to me.
19th, the DOJ make publicly
So it's like,
format, all
I understand what you're saying. I guess I can empathize, but I can't sympathize,
right.
if that
There's
makes
all
sense.
these other files. We're not seeing any of them. We haven't seen any of them. Do you guys remember this?
Like, I love playing video games, but I'd probably hate them if I had to.
Have you ever had a personal relationship
if I had
with
to play
Donald
like
Trump?
League of Legends 10 hours a day to earn a paycheck, you know what I mean?
Have you socialized with him?
So I get it.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my fifth,
Ooh.
sixth, and 14th.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever?
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
That is an interesting way to answer that question after he was so quick to answer like the previous 3 or 4. So weird.
How much of a red flag that is, given the nature of that question. It means, yes, of course he was talking to underage women with Trump, under the age of 18. All right, how about this from Trump File? This encounter between Trump and an Epstein victim has already been reported on, but since it's circulating today, like
I guarantee you that somewhere,
seen it. Look at this.
Whether it's in the files,
Jane Doe's encounters with Epstein,
whether
he took her
a
to
foreign leader has it, like why is he up Putin's ass all the time? Like,
Epstein elbowed Trump
why is he such a
playfully,
Putin cuck?
him,
You know?
to Doe. This is a good one, right? Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. They both
like
chuckled
there is
and both
something
felt
out there
uncomfortable,
that
but
looks
at the time,
really,
he was
really
too
bad
young
for him.
to understand.
Like there's no other way to interpret how hard he's trying to keep this stuff from coming
Trump
out.
would give Epstein, you know, how he had a teenage modeling agency. He gave Jeffrey Epstein like basically like menus of the girls to pick
Hey,
from, whichever one he
you know,
wanted.
back to the whole education thing,
We know
like
Jean-Luc Brunel was tied in
I think
closely with these
considering how
guys.
much
Jean-Luc
knowledge
Brunel,
you have on
notorious
this
pedophile,
already, even if
ended up
we
killing
don't see
himself
eye to
in
eye,
prison in 2022.
like just based on
Do you
how
guys
much
understand
knowledge
what's going on here
you've
that what we're talking
accumulated
about is a
on
human
your own,
trafficking ring?
like
That you have
believe it or
the
not, like
trafficking
I
of underage
think
girls, some of them
society
didn't speak
needs
English.
more of that.
You
You know what I
understand
mean?
that? All right, now let me also show you this. New recorded footage shows Donald Trump judging a modeling
That's
event
just
in
my
1991.
opinion.
So
Like,
this actually isn't new. But
you know,
given
to
the
each his own.
context
If
of
you don't
what
don't want
now
to do it as a career,
know,
I
think
get
about
it.
how bizarre and how gross and how
I just think
weird
it's
it is
unfortunate,
that
you know?
he's doing this. Now, mind you, this is a guy who literally went on Howard Stern and said he owned like Miss Teen USA or whatever it was, or Miss Teen Universe, I forget which one. But he said I would walk in to the changing room where the
If I
girls were
wanted to go
changing,
to
and
law,
since I
I
own
know
the
about
place, I was
founding
allowed to
model
do it.
law
And I'd say,
make
oh, is everybody
arguments that
okay in
modern
here? And he
constitutional
would look at their
lawyers
bodies,
do.
their naked bodies,
I understand
their underage naked
substantial
bodies. This is what
effect
Trump
doctrine
said
and the
to
commerce
Howard
nexus
Stern's face.
stuff.
This is what he said.
And yeah, like even if
predator to the max,
even if you don't want to be a
admitting he's a
lawyer, just
pedophile
like
there. And here he is,
redistributing
look at
that knowledge, like
participated
I just
Here he is. Look at him. Look at this creep.
because like I see like all the harms that are being done to the education system, and I just think it's unfortunate that like, whoops, what the hell? Oh.
Thank you very much. The concentration was intense inside the judging room.
Heck, slow down.
Look at how young these girls are. Look at how young these girls are.
And out.
Oh, anyway, couldn't figure out why I was
Each
talking.
girl was considered not only for her beauty and poise,
Yeah, like
but also
I
for
just
her
think we need more
personality.
we need
So, like I
more
said, less than
educators,
1% of the files were released.
you know,
They're
in the
fighting this.
country.
There's a
You know what I
massive
mean?
cover-up.
Just in
Trump's doing a
general,
massive
and
cover-up
especially if
because he knows
somebody
how
is
good it
passionate
is.
about it,
So let's just remember.
then I think
Epstein
that
is on literal audio tape
they
saying
make
he
that
was
much
Trump's
better
best friend for a decade.
of
Okay? We know that because of Michael
of an
Wolff.
educator.
He was
You know what I
smart
mean?
enough to record the back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein. He had hours-long interviews with him.
Plus, I was kind
said
of
Trump
roasting you there.
was my
like,
best friend for a
I was
decade.
trying to
was on
like
Epstein's plane at
bait
least
you a little
7
bit.
times that we know of.
But
Well,
no,
now we know he
legitimately,
also
like,
went to the island. We know that now.
given that you have
First time
spent
Trump
that
and
much
Melania
time
had
on
sex
your
was
own just for
allegedly on the
giggles,
Lolita Express, which was
like,
Jeffrey Epstein's Fredophile plane.
that's the kind of people we need in our
Epstein literally
education
knew the
system
inner
at every
workings
level.
of
You
the
know,
Trump White House. He knew the inner workings because he was so plugged in at the highest levels, not just of U.S. government, but plugged in.
a lot of my
at the top of
disagreements
the
with
Israeli
your process,
government,
not necessarily
the
on
Russian
morals.
government.
True,
He's
true.
basically a freelance spy.
And honestly, like that
working
just
with intelligence
that just
agencies
comes from
with
a
tremendous amount of blackmail
it
and
comes from a
enriching
lack
powerful
of
people
knowledge
all
on my
across the world.
part,
Okay.
and the fact that I don't care.
Trump and Epstein shared a girlfriend.
You know what I mean?
He also
Like,
passed
I don't
off
care
a
what the
20-year-old
process
girl to
is.
Trump in 1993.
Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this
Trump
should be
wrote a
a
creepy love letter to
policy.
Epstein
Like, I don't
on
care
his
what it
birthday.
takes to get there.
Trump offered Epstein a job in his
And it's
first
just like
term
it's
in
just like a
order to try
moral
to keep him
foundation. You know what I
quiet.
mean?
Then what ended up happening, he was locked up under Trump's term, and he was killed during Trump's term. In federal custody, by the way. Incredibly sketchy. Reports are that Epstein learned human trafficking from
It's like
Trump's
even
modeling
though
agency.
like my
You all know
degrees
that Trump hosted a
in
private event
well not
at
yet.
Mar-a-Lago
Next semester's my last semester,
with
but it's in
teen
political
models,
science.
and
And
it
there's
was
a
only
little
Trump
bit of
and one
legal
other
stuff.
person there,
Like
Jeffrey Epstein.
I took a constitutional law
And I haven't
class.
even gotten started on
I
the
took
other
a freedom of
pictures that we
speech
know
class,
exist
which
because
was
Michael
based
Wolff told
purely
us
on
about
the freedom
them.
of speech
Like, for
and the
example,
progression
the picture Epstein had
of how
with,
like
of
different
Trump,
interpretations. But
where there's 3
that's
girls
really
there,
the only.
girls
Oh,
of an
actually,
uncertain
next
age,
semester
they say.
I have
They're
a
underage, right?
digital law
And Trump
class
has a stain on
next
his pants,
semester.
and he's standing
But that's
there
really like
smiling, and the other girls are
it's
pointing
such
at him
a
and laughing. Gee, I wonder what
such a
that stain
tiny
was on his
scope
pants.
of
Turns out
legal
this
knowledge. You know what I
wasn't
mean?
part of the
So I'm
Epstein
not going to sit
files
here and
batch that
pretend
was
that like
released. Gee, I wonder why.
I'm
wonder
knowledgeable
why.
on constitutional law. I'm not.
It's insane what we're looking
whatsoever.
at here. It is insane. Epstein, by the way, was still leaking stuff to the media about
I just don't
Trump
care. Again, like I
before
said,
he
I just don't
died
care.
in the custody of the feds.
I have a
So
I have
he was
a
up until the day he died, he
like
was
a
dropping
sturdy
little clues, little hints,
set
little bits of evidence
of
and that's
foundational
perhaps why
principles
Trump
and morals.
felt so threatened. And I haven't
And
even
that's
mentioned the
what's
Katie
like.
Johnson lawsuit from 2016 about how in 1994
That's what
Epstein and Trump
isn't going to
allegedly
change for
raped
me.
a 13-year-old. Now she dropped that
But
lawsuit
the process
in
is
2016.
important for a lot of reasons, mainly
but,
due
you
to
know,
the snowball effect.
My guess is it's because she was threatened, and she didn't want to fucking have her life ruined or be killed for blowing the whistle on what the disgusting Fredophile president did.
I get that there needs to be a process.
That's where we're at,
I
man.
agree that there needs to be a process.
Epstein also knew everything about Mar-a-Lago's financing, including mortgage fraud.
However,
he was tied in, bro. He was tied in.
It becomes
so
a
this is what we have
problem
at the moment.
when
and I wanted to make
the
sure to come here
process
on this
adds more
Saturday for you guys
processes.
and give you all the updates and show
You
you
know
all
what I
the
mean?
pictures and stuff. But needless to say, I got my eye on what's happening. Go Ro Khanna
Like,
and go Thomas Massey. Let's impeach
this
Pam Bondi
process that you
because they
refer to
flagrantly
is what
violated
gave
the
us
law
the
here.
Roy Cohn
And Trump
School
is
of
the head
Law.
the snake. But,
If you know what I'm
we
talking
gotta
about.
take them down one by one because
If you don't know what
these
I'm talking
guys are
about, I'm
criminals. They're
happy to
criminals.
let you
They're
know.
guilty.
But
They need to go down.
that's how
and
the
these victims
processes
deserve the full,
created
unfiltered,
more
unvarnished
processes.
truth.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now.
Creeps. I hope they all
Alright
get
guys,
jail.
there is a massive scandal.
Who's dinging
unfolding
me?
today.
Why'd I get
And,
dinged?
I want to go ahead
Someone
and
gave
walk
me
you
a
through
follow.
it.
I think.
So as you all know,
Thank you, whoever that was.
Larry Ellison
Hi.
and David Ellison
S70
bought
Ghost.
CBS
Hi.
recently. They bought Paramount. CBS is part of
All right, let me
Paramount.
pause it. Give me a second.
And
Okay, so Roy Cohn was the he was originally Donald Trump Sr.'s like personal attorney, and then once Donald Trump started getting into real estate using Daddy's money, he became Donald Trump's attorney. But anyway, the idea that or the oh my gosh, hold on. What the heck just happened? Okay, you know how, like, even if there is a legal battle, right? Particularly in civil law, right? Even if the person is right and they are correct and they have a legitimate case, the person that is wealthy has so many more means at their disposal, right? They can just file motion after motion after motion after delay after delay after delay, so that, like, they can basically run their opponents dry. You know, basically on just delay. That's the Roy Cohn School of Law. that is how, like, Donald Trump has like gotten all these legal settlements in the past, is because he wouldn't pay his workers, and then they would sue him, and then because he has so much more capital than they did, that's what he would do. Delay, push it back, change the date, file a motion, right? And he would just bleed them dry, and they'd either drop the case because they ran out of money, or they'd have to settle. That's the Roy Cohn School of Law. Using the process as a weapon, yeah, that is an issue. That's basically what it is.
These guys are, Zionist billionaire hacks.
What's up, S70 Ghost?
Also, in the business.
How are you doing today? I am doing fantastic.
Right?
I don't know. Actually, that's a lie. I'm in a good mood, but I'm really freaking tired.
So that the media
I don't know how much longer I'm going to be. I might.
And
I think dinner's going to be ready within like the next 30 minutes.
US media lightens up
so I'm probably going to call it a night once dinner's ready.
Right. And so
probably.
They chose Barry Weiss to lead CBS.
I appreciate the follow. I'm trying to get to 50 so I can get monetized.
She's a puppet. That's what she is.
That's what I'm trying to do. So I appreciate the follow. But
if
you got a question? Let me know.
She was on a crusade to get pro-Palestine professors fired.
Little backstory, if you're still listening.
The Free Press, which was
I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in political science,
and free speech and open debate.
Focusing specifically on like politicization, political behavior, voting trends, and stuff like that.
The discourse here and the bounds of the discourse and what's considered reasonable. So we don't want like
Liberty here, Master Liberty,
we don't want Hassan
in here in the chat,
we want to control
has spent an unnatural amount of time
only allowing certain voices. So
researching constitutional law without actually studying it.
It was all about free speech, and now it's all about the opposite of free speech. It's about controlling.
So he could be making more money,
right?
Than he currently is.
With her now being the head of CBS,
if he were to actually pursue
idea
that education,
has been a colossal flop. It's been a disaster. Her very first thing, she had like Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton do a segment together where they talk about issues. Fucking nobody watched it. Nobody cared, right? You had Dana Loesch debating Alan Dershowitz on the Second Amendment. I'm not even kidding when I say within the first like 6 or 7 hours, only like 800 people or so watched it, right? Just a disaster. Then she had Erica Kirk. She did a town hall with Erica Kirk where she threw softballs down the center of the plate, where Erica Kirk would chastise and berate Americans for not like sufficiently genuflecting at the altar of Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, it was just embarrassing, just totally embarrassing. By the way, the ratings for every single one of those things were horrible. Even the Erica Kirk thing, which they promoted like it was the fucking Super Bowl, even that flopped colossally. But now you're about to see why she really is in this position, why she's really running CBS. Now, I should also point out,
I'm a programmer.
She got paid $150
Understanding
million
data structures is what makes constitutional law fun.
The Zionist billionaire
oh, gotcha. It is a really
press,
complex
right?
data structure.
Guys, I'm not kidding when I say the Free Press got like 6,000 or 7,000 views per YouTube video. So
I don't.
$150 million,
I can see.
like, what, $5 billion,
I can
$10
see
billion
why
or
you
like
think that, but I'd have to push back.
So she is
because I feel like in programming, even though you might have multiple ways of reaching your goal,
which has a stellar
like
journalistic record, of course.
I feel like
they did a report.
In order to achieve a specific result, it has to be a specific input, right?
Trump
I'm assuming.
We're going to send a bunch
right?
of immigrants to him. 288 to be exact.
But the thing is like, I don't feel like our legal system works that way.
Right? They did this
I feel like there's a significant amount of separation
and investigative journalism.
But I get what you're saying.
Reporting. It was all ready to go. You know, the CBS guys did their work. It was all ready to go. And in fact, let me go ahead and show you the trailer for this, because this shows you what we had to look forward to.
What else going on with my laptop?
It began as soon as the planes landed. The deportees thought they were headed from the U.S. back to Venezuela, but instead, they were shackled, paraded in front of cameras, and delivered to CCOT, the notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, where they told 60 Minutes they endured 4 months of hell.
Did you think you were going to die there?
Not always influences output,
so we got
but
that
doesn't
little 28-second trailer.
Okay.
Guess what, y'all? I had to grab this video from Ron Filipkowski because I originally had it pulled up from 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes had to pull this down, and Barry Weiss behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, what do you think about
I'm not letting you run that story.
What do you think about
we
the
are censoring that story. We are banning that story. And she hid behind
the new head of
well,
CBS.
You know, the reason why is we didn't get
pulling a story that looked negatively on
from the U.S.
on the
government,
administration,
from the Trump regime. So therefore, we're going to spike
like,
it. Well, here's the problem.
State-run media.
Barry.
Am I right?
They asked repeatedly. They asked the FBI. They asked the DOJ.
Yeah, Musk owning
they
Twitter.
Asked Stephen Miller.
Trump
they asked the Trump regime more broadly.
Bezos owning
what is your response to this?
one of the largest
they had no response to it.
News publications in the
and
U.S.
So what Barry is effectively saying is,
you've got the Ellisons
the right
to
censor
buying
any
CBS and
if it's about them
and putting in Barry Weiss as a CEO.
That's literally a kill switch for journalism. Where all they have to do is say,
what else do they have? Or what else don't they have?
There's no dissenting media. There's no
Zuckerberg with like Facebook and Meta and all that stuff. Let's dig a little deeper. Like it's like the top 5 media distributors in the U.S.
sent an
have
internal email
all
to colleagues
like
stating that CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Weiss quote
given
spiked our
like
story
Trump
about the
a
Trump
ton of money.
administration and the transfer of deportees to a prison.
We basically
in El
have
Salvador.
state-run media
in
now.
the email, which
basically.
was first reported by the Wall Street Journal, Alfonsi
I think YouTube is like the last bastion, but even then, I don't know what the YouTube algorithm looks like. I don't know if like
whose interview was initially withheld by
left-wing
CBS
media
in the
is
over legal concerns. A decision that
suppressed. I don't know.
severely damaged the network's credibility and became
Scariest
one of the most
part the federal
infamous
government has the power.
episodes
Yeah,
in
they can
broadcast
determine the
journalism.
buys and who.
Alfonsi writes that Weiss declined to
And
speak
not
with
only
her
that, but like,
about the decision. She also says
think about
the
that.
move was political
Think about that
rather than
ABC
editorial. Quote,
settlement.
Our story was screened 5
That was like
times
when that happened. I was like,
cleared by
oh,
both
we're so
CBS
cooked,
attorneys
so
and
cooked.
Standards and practices.
When he
Alfonsi
sued
wrote,
them,
quote, it is
and instead of
factually
fighting the case,
it is factually correct. So she goes on to say, look, we're the gold
like how
standard
many?
of journalism.
Oh my gosh!
If you spike this story, you are absolutely
Like if you listen to Fox
ruining
News
that. Ready? Here is
versus
Brian
ABC
Stelter.
News,
Here's what Barry Weiss said on
there's
the
a
CBS
distinct
9
difference
a.m. call
between
per
the two.
source, who transcribed it. Quote, I want to say something about trust. Oh, here we go. Our trust for each
and
other
one
and our trust
anchor
with the public.
said
the only newsroom I'm interested
that
in running is
Trump
one in
was
which we are
convicted
able
of
to have
rape
a contentious disagreement
or
about the thorniest editorial matters
sexual
with
assault or
respect,
something
and
like that.
crucially,
He
we
said
assume
something
the
like
best
he raped a
intent of
woman,
our
right?
colleagues. Anything else is
But
absolutely unacceptable. You are censoring
the-
and banning real journalism.
He was found liable for sexual assault.
To the fascist regime.
But
that's what you're doing.
in the decision, the judge said what he did, even though this was a civil decision, would be criminally considered rape. It was like in the decision. So
did not advance the ball.
the
Times and
ABC
other
anchor, I think I
previously
forget
done
who it was,
similar work. The public knows
said that Trump
Venezuelans have been
raped,
subjected to
but that's
horrific
but anyway,
treatment at this
you get what
prison.
I'm saying. So
To
he
run a
sued
story
him,
on this subject 2 months
and instead of
later,
ABC
we need to
fighting
do
it,
more.
which they
And
could have
this is
won
60 minutes. We
easily,
need to be able to get the principles on
because
the record and
defamation
on
is so
camera.
the bar for
Our viewers
defamation
come
is so
first,
freaking
not the listing
high
schedule or
for
anything
news
else.
organizations
That's my North Star, and I hope it's yours too.
or entertainment
so
in
as Ryan
general.
Grimm points out, I thought this was a great point. The next
But
time
instead
Barry
they
Weiss
chose to
assigns a
settle and
story
just
about
give him
October
like
7th,
$15 million.
I wonder if the reporter will push back and say, "Sorry."
As soon as
that's
that
old
happened, I was
news.
like, we are
can't
so
do it
cooked.
without
So
Hamas
cooked.
on camera. Literally 0% chance. What did I tell you guys when she took over CBS? I told you now they're going to go super soft on Israel. And the other thing I told you is what? It's going to be a both sides factory. It's going to be a false equivalence factory. And so literally the
Yeah,
whole
like
point
he
of
gets to
Barry
determine
this, and she
like
floated the
who
idea,
buys
oh,
Netflix
just do an interview with Stephen Miller and put
or
that in there, and then we can run
sorry,
it.
whether it's Netflix or Paramount. Who are they buying? I
Taking
forget.
both sidesism to a comical
Anyway,
degree.
like
Bring
he
the
could
fucking Nazi
legitimately,
fascist
since
on and have him
he's
explain
the
why torture
determining
and rape
factor,
is
he could
okay.
determine.
Well,
And
here
since we know
are.
the DOJ
It
and the
is false
FTC,
equivalence to a T.
they're
It is
not
both
going
sidesism
to
to a T.
do anything to stop the
Could you imagine
monopolization.
Barry Weiss back during like the segregation
Because all they
days?
have to do
Well,
is
look,
give
I
him a
know
few
you
$1
have
million,
civil rights activists on who are saying
and he's
they
like,
want
"Oh,
equal rights
looks
for
good to
everybody.
me."
Why not give Bill
You know?
Connor an equal amount of time? I don't understand. What's the issue here? Imagine during the debate
Of
over
course,
women's
planning on
suffrage.
reverting constitutional
Look, I know you have,
pre-1930 stuff with Trump
you know,
as president
the women
and
who
all
are
the illegal power
protesting
still
to get the
inside
right to
of
vote.
the executive
But
branch.
why not bring on the alcoholic
Yeah, it's
men
like
who abuse their wives who are against it and give them equal
it's
time?
like
I don't understand. What's the issue
they
here?
took the executive
This is
overreach
fucking
of FDR
disgraceful, bro. This is
with
absolutely
the
positively
robber
disgraceful.
baron
Sarah Fisher says,
corporatocracy, what
prior
is it,
to all the
oligarchy
CBS Paramount deal
of
mania
the
drama, 60
of
Minutes
right
wasn't a
before
new
the Great
show
Depression,
audiences were
and they're like, you know what?
It's been the highest
We
rated
like both
news
of
program
these.
in the
Here you
country
go.
for 50
that's
consecutive
basically what they
seasons.
did.
If people thought it needed fixing,
Like that sounds
it
like a
wasn't
good
the
idea.
viewers. Ready for
Perfect.
This? Hope you guys are ready for this one. Hope you're sitting down for this one. Here's what Trump said.
3 people own all the wealth,
and actually 60
and the
Minutes
president has all the
paid me
power.
a lot of money, and you don't have to
Sign
put
me
this
up.
on
That's what the
because I don't
Supreme
wanna
Court
embarrass
says.
you, and I'm sure you're not.
Sign me right
You
the
have a
fuck
great-
up.
I think you have a great new leader, frankly, because the young woman that's leading your whole enterprise is a great.
What'd you forget?
From what I know, I don't know her, but I hear she's a great person. But 60 Minutes was forced to pay me a lot of money because they took her answer out that was so bad
Cinnamon rolls.
it was election changing. Yes. 2 nights before.
Are you making them tonight?
And they put a new answer.
Or tomorrow?
And they paid me a lot of money
Oh.
for that.
I
You
always
can't
want them
have
because I'm
fake
fat.
News. You've got to have legit news, and I think that it's happening. I see,
Mr. President,
I see good things happening in the news. I really do, and I think one
Oh,
of the
they're
best
literally
things
like,
that
we
happened
want the
is
Constitution,
this
but we're
show
not going to
and
invalidate
new
the things we
ownership,
removed.
CBS and new
Limits on the
ownership,
powers
I think
we're
it's
about to
the
give back.
greatest thing that's
We're
happened
not
in
going
a
to
long
invalidate
time
things
to
that remove the
a
limits
free
on
and
the powers
open
we're
and
about to
good
give back.
press.
Oh, yeah.
Ringing endorsement from our fascist leader of Barry Weiss's leadership. She is the person who's delivering us the fake news. She needs to change the name of her outlet to the Unfree Press. Because that's what it is. It's the Unfree Press. By the way, we happen to know from New York Times reporting some of the details of what happened.
It's like they
at
figured
CCOT.
out a
Let me
way
share them with you right now.
to piss off everybody
had
except the
288
billionaires.
people sent there, totally innocent, never committed any crimes.
Like, oh,
no
these
criminal
poor,
record
like,
whatsoever.
okay.
Many of them
If you look,
were tortured.
oh, here we
Many
go.
of them were
I think,
raped. They were
I
forced
think
to
that,
suck dick.
hold on, give me a
Then,
second, give me a second.
They were so desperate.
Okay.
They were.
Have you heard of, for entertainment purposes only, right? I think you should read the book Lawless. It's a fairly recent book, and there's a lot of pop culture references. It's a short book, it's meant to be entertaining. It's just opinionated, right? It's not meant to be legal doctrine, so if you take it as such, I think you would enjoy it. And it's basically, like, if you were to think, like, a lot of these Supreme Court decisions recently don't make sense. With the Roberts Supreme Court decisions don't make a lot of sense, right? Like, they're conflicting. Like, one decision they're traditionalists, and the next decision they're not. Like, so anyway, if you were to view their decision-making process through a lens of manufactured grievance, okay? So, imagine that the Supreme Court justices, the majority justices, are sitting there, and they're thinking, these poor billionaires are being treated so badly. We have to help them because they're being treated so poorly by our system. If you look at it, their decision-making process through that lens, then a lot of their decisions seem to make more sense. So, if you're interested, check it out. I recommend it. Again, it is written by law professors, but they wrote it as a form, like, they wrote it more for entertainment than like here's our thesis on the decision-making process of the, you know what I mean? It's not meant to be serious.
Were forced to stay on their knees all night as one form of torture. They were sleep deprived as another form of torture. They were kept in freezing cold cells. One of the things they did out of sheer desperation for the horrific treatment they were getting is they would cut their hands to the point where they would bleed. Then they would write desperate messages in their white sheets of their bed. That's what went down at CCOT. We know some of the people. We know Andres, for example, the gay Venezuelan makeup artist. He went through this. We know Kilmore went through this. Like I said, 288 people.
The court is lost in what they want the Constitution to be, what the founders said on it.
Zero due
they want to have their
process
cake and
whatsoever,
eat. Yeah, they
completely illegally. So
I don't think
brave enough
I
to
don't
come
think
forward, we were actually going to hear directly
I don't
from
think that the conservative justices on the Supreme Court, I
what
don't
went
think
down,
they
we were gonna
give a
hear
shit
directly
what's
from
in the
them.
Constitution.
And that's why
honestly,
she spiked this. She knows.
I don't
this
think that they
makes
give
the
a
Trump
shit.
regime look as horrific
All
as
they
are. It makes them look
all they
criminal
care about
because
is the
they are
result.
criminal.
They don't
What
care
did she do?
about
I am positive. Word got to the Trump regime that this is going to drop.
they're not focused
Trump
on
himself
the
probably made a phone call
the
to
requirements for the
and said,
result.
"Why the fuck do
you know what I
think
mean?
I let you take over
They're
CBS?
not concerned about
Why do you think I allowed it?
what legal
so you can stop shit like this. And then the Ellisons called Barry.
What should prevent or allow a decision to be to take place? They don't care. They know the result that they want,
what a sick,
and they will do and say whatever it takes to get there. So again,
well, we can't run this. We haven't heard
if you view it through the lens of manufactured grievance, their decisions start to make more sense.
Is wrong. Getting rid of due process and abolishing the Constitution effectively is wrong. This is what this regime did. Blowing off judges' orders is wrong. That happened. They blew off a judge's orders and shipped people there anyway. That's all wrong.
Yeah, basically the Roberts.
So this is, ladies and gentlemen,
since Roberts has been the Chief Justice.
Country, 60 Minutes, one of the few outlets that does actual journalism, and you're ruining their name overnight. Barry Weiss is disgusting. Barry Weiss is disgraceful. She needs to resign. She needs to step aside. This is unacceptable. In no world should she maintain this amount of power. In no world. And by the way, while we're at it, let's also say the Ellison should be forced to fucking sell. They should not own this media. They should not do that. Because this is what it is. We now have official state media. So you can't even run an accurate...
I said it before he said it.
Report
you heard me. I said state media before you said it. 1950s cases are a good example of that. 80s as well. 70s is a bit weird. And mixed as well as the 90s being weird.
You know what's going to happen? That's exactly what's
Were they more... during the weird times, were they more? Was it more of a balance between
to the Fox News watchers,
conservative and liberal appointees?
Fuck no, they're never gonna watch you, and all you're doing is pissing off the normies and the liberals and the leftists who would watch you. So there's gonna be nobody there. But that's the thing is like they don't even care about how many views they get. They don't care. They are legacy media. They are coasting off their name recognition, and they're going to rake in those ad dollars, even though they're now waging a war on journalism on behalf of the Trump regime. So this is utterly
the Supreme Court hadn't invalidated a law under the Commerce for 80 years of level of bad court.
She knows she's wrong, and she's desperately trying to cover it up. And now you have people who work in 60 Minutes, they're threatening to quit.
You got to admit that's kind of funny. At least there's consistency.
I signed
you know?
up to do my job. I signed up to tell the truth.
At least there's consistency.
Truth to power. And they're
at least we have that going for us.
And not allowing us to do that. And so she did say, oh, I'm going to allow it to be released at a future date, trying to get the both sides fucking response. But what happened here might end up being the Streisand effect, where there's a chance because of the colossal public backlash that they're forced to release it, right? And that would be phenomenal. So everybody keep the fucking
if you're going to be bad, at least be consistently bad.
They,
yeah, see, like, look at driving, right?
Burying the story, you know, during the holidays.
What is worse?
You know,
like a bad driver or an inconsistent driver?
Now that they censored it and
like
banned it,
from an outside perspective, right?
Interested in seeing it even more.
If you're following someone and you see that they're a bad driver,
who went through it,
you can kind of like keep your distance, right?
Journalism looks like.
But an inconsistent driver, you might be thinking, "Hey, let me pass this dude real quick," and then bam!
It's a lot harder
you know what I mean?
than you think it is, isn't it?
Surprise!
You were put in there as a political hack to do hit jobs for the regime, and now you're doing it, right? Protect MAGA and protect Israel. That's her job description. And all the bullshit talk about, oh, free speech, and we want to bring the highest values back here. It's all nonsense. It's all useless. And now you all know that.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
This is a cover-up. We have to treat Trump's Justice Department the way we spoke about Soviet-era, quote, Justice Departments. This is not a Justice Department that's a little tilted, you know, a little pro-Trump, little thumb in the scale. There is no scale. This is Trump's defense team, and that's how they're managing this.
Not just way back and forth. They're starting to see the issues of this new deal. Air the court.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host,
Actually,
Tim Miller. Quick scheduling note.
I don't think that's... I would disagree with that cause.
And then the day after Christmas, Friday,
I would say...
Then next week, we'll have shows.
I would say that by the time the 80s rolled around,
we will be
institutions like the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society had been able to work their people up the ranks. You know what I mean?
Hope everybody has a wonderful holiday.
And they had started being appointed within the justice system.
Give you a little break
I don't think that they just all of a sudden realized that the New Deal era was wrong. I think that institutions that wanted, whose sole purpose was to get back to the pre-New Deal days, started to rise up the ranks and get into positions of judicial power. I think that that's more likely the case.
This Christmas to become a Board Plus member, so stick around for that at the end. But it is Monday, so we've got editor-at-large of the Bulwark.
Because you do know that, like, the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, they were instituted shortly after the Nixon administration because they wanted to make sure that isn't as good of a motive. It is for them. Trust me, it is for them. But these foundations were instituted with the sole purpose of basically being like anti, like, small d Democratic, or no, large D Democratic. You know what I mean? To make sure that no Republican president ever went through what Nixon went through again, and that worked. That implies they aren't trying to correct the law, but rather go back. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it strongly implies that, and I would. Yeah, that's exactly what they're freaking doing. Because everything that they've done up until now has demonstrated that. Like, go look at how many Supreme Court justices since the 80s have come up, have been a part in some form or fashion of either the Heritage Foundation or the Federalist Society. I don't know what the number is, but I know for a fact that at least 2 of the current conservative justices came up through their system. At least 2. I know for a fact.
But it's still a cover-up.
What's his name? Thomas being one, and I think Kavanaugh being the other.
Is only the tip of the
I
iceberg.
think.
The most striking thing is, and Roe made this.
I'm
point,
like 75%
yesterday,
sure.
I mean, the stuff that people really expected to see, wanted to see, and it almost is really is virtually indicated in the legislation that was passed is what we need to see. It would include things like this: the 60-count indictment of Epstein from 2008, which really lays out the real case against him. They bargained it down to 2 counts, and he pled for that in that sweetheart deal with Acosta. But that is in there. Everyone knows it's in the files. And then, of course,
Because again, you say it implies that they want to go back to the corrupt Lochner area. Again, go back to what I said before. If you view their decision-making process
they're not even there.
from a lens of manufactured grievance on the part of billionaires, their decision makes so much more sense. Think about it. They have made consistently made decisions that cripple unions. Who does that? Who do unions protect? Not the billionaires. Look at the campaign finance.
Come on, we're going to get it
Who?
all.
Who benefits the most from giving politicians millions of dollars or funding their campaigns for millions of dollars? It's not people like me, right?
Most of the key things, or many of them, I guess I'm not there. I think this is a cover-up.
And that's just the easiest 2 examples I could think of. I'm sure there's more.
Soviet era.
Unfortunate since you would have to undo a lot of media stuff. Force Congress to amend the Constitution to Bill of Rights. Congress power to include some national economic powers, outlining systems for legislative contingency framework, support the modern era, and a bunch of other reforms. Oh, they'll think of something.
And some of these victims have
again. Let it swim around in the old noodle of yours. Look, think about some recent decisions, like from the Roberts Court era, and think: did this decision benefit the billionaire class?
Is notable. That's related
like
to the other
overwhelmingly,
element,
right?
Which is, I believe it was Massey that said,
or I should actually not even billionaires. I should say like multimillionaires even. Like I think that like the 1 to 10 millionaires, they probably don't care very much about because they're like small fries. But like once you get up to like the hundreds of millions, then probably up. I'd say like
folks involved.
20 million and above is like
the New York Times reporting that
the people that they're thinking of, because those are the big donors, you know.
Who was talking about how she had
likely not correct the militia laws or shape Second Amendment, only protect certain things, allow speech to be. Yeah. Actually, like we see that now. Like we see that happening now.
At the party, right? So until the notion that there's information that
freedom of contract nonsense.
About
yeah, the freedom of contract. Freedom of contract. Like
nobody's going to accept this.
Didn't they recently?
And so I think that
there was something recently that passed that basically allowed states to
we know they said they have a
use child labor again.
All of the times that Trump was mentioned.
Wasn't there a recent decision that allowed child labor?
They've already gathered
that walked back the restrictions on child labor.
To reporting that we've learned from the administration.
And that's really so important. Just to emphasize this point, which is one more second. I mean, the victims, when the victims said release the files, they meant release the victim statements. And that was the core thing they wanted to see out. They had gone to the FBI, offered a considerable personal risk and cost. They had made these statements.
When I say recent, I mean within like the last 20 years or so.
Fresh in their minds,
or
unfortunately.
actually, no, maybe it's been like 10, 15 years.
Sent to the FBI the names of the people. They
maybe
didn't redact themselves. That it was John Smith and it was John Jones.
The Roberts
Court. They were there at this time, and maybe they said I can't quite recall the second time, but the third time this person was there. That's what is in these statements. And there are a couple of cases we've seen statements where they did redact, interestingly,
Shields maxed out.
The names of people who were the exploiters or the alleged exploiters, not the victims. But in most cases, since they didn't release the statements at all, we don't even have that.
Oh, we should have amended that, not the lie president amendment, but the court said the restriction is valid.
We don't know.
Johnson clause can make it where child labor can't enter the national. It shouldn't.
Idea, the spirit of releasing the files.
What do you mean? We should amend that. Hold on.
The other news related to
this,
so Todd Blanche was out doing interviews over the
weekend. I need to be clear where you stand with this.
He was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, and she was
you say amended
about the file release, but also about the transfer
to
of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Restrict child labor, or to allow more child labor.
After you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche.
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not
talk
about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all,
let me finish.
I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue.
I like gargling Trump's balls. He pays me.
There was a tremendous amount of scrutiny.
Let me finish justifying his bullshit.
She was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail,
it's totally about their safety.
But also for their safety.
She was receiving so many threats. That's why we can't let the victim statements out.
That's true. People have a lot of.
This totally has nothing to do with protecting my orange Jesus, Donald Josephine Trump.
I think it would be.
We should have amended that child labor isn't allowed. Yeah, okay. Passed the anti-child labor amendment that was proposed prior to. Okay.
That they can get moved.
Okay. Gotcha.
From Gen Pop to kind of
see the 18th Amendment as to why the amendment was needed for manufacturing.
Treatment. I'm not familiar with that in other kind of high.
Yeah, and like once that was walked back, you had a state like Arkansas.
It doesn't meet the laugh test. Obviously, you could, if you have to move her to
Sarah
another prison, move her to another prison.
Sanders, governor, like basically allowing 13-year-olds to work in factories again. Maybe not factories. I might be exaggerating that part, but anyway, Arkansas was pretty freaking quick to say, "Have fun, kids. Go make money. Go pick berries."
The situation is, it's horrible what she did, and the idea that I just was struck by this. Watching the Blanche interview,
a red state, by the way.
How horrible it is that she is actually in the cushiest federal prison you can have. I mean, this woman who has done things that are very high in the scale of really detestable things that were done by people in federal prisons. I'm going to say.
Got to make sure those billionaires make as much money as possible, man. I'm telling you. It's all about the billion-dollar corporations and the billionaires. I'm telling you, man. Like, what other reason would there be?
This is not like a Justice Department.
What other reason to
good faith? It isn't even trying to defend what they're doing.
To lower restrictions on child labor then the only justification for that is to allow companies to exploit their labor, pay them as little as humanly possible for their work. Like that's it.
This is just the best bullshit.
We know that's what we know that companies will do that if they're allowed to, because we freaking saw it.
The corrupt actions of the government, and I honestly, it's hard to know because they're it's just such clowns at the head of DOJ that.
Yeah, we should have passed that amendment.
Yeah. Being the deputy attorney
People need to stop being afraid of amendments.
I assume
it's extremely hard for them, just like Lincoln did. Agreed.
Part of some Agreed. Bad job spinning it, but I do think it's also possible that they're just totally in over their head to such a degree that it's
like
kind of crazy to even.
Let the legislators say no. You know what I mean?
50-50 on some of these judgment
then
calls,
they will have to answer to their constituents, right?
I've gone pretty far to it's totally corrupt and they know what they're doing.
Like put an amendment forward restricting child labor. Like I think 15 is okay for like some part-time jobs.
There's so
but like
much that's now happening
allowing 13-year-olds to work in like like as a butcher, like no, get out of here with that. Get out of here, you know.
Assume that they
and then
I don't think
whoever does say no, like if I submitted that amendment,
great, honestly. Did he talk to Trump
like as a member of the House or Senate,
whoever
said no, I would go to their district and I would hold a town hall in their district and be like, this guy, the one that you voted for, thinks that it's okay for children to lose their fingers in a factory.
I don't know whether they literally
it's still proposed amendment on the books.
Decisions.
Yeah, but freaking, you know that.
But certainly they're doing what they think is in accord with Trump's
amendment
wishes,
on the books.
Notified if what they're doing isn't in accord.
You know for a fact, is it in the House or the Senate books? Because you know for a fact that the current speaker isn't going to put forward any legislation that might be beneficial to people. You know that for a fact.
I'm pretty annoyed. He was saying by the way it's going badly for them politically, and he probably thinks that Bondi's kind of screwed it up, you know, but I don't know. Maybe he does, and the Bondi hasn't been very deft at running this cover-up. But it's Trump's cover-up. Watergate was Nixon's cover-up.
Might be the House. Yeah, it's not.
That's right. I mean, the whole Susie.
I mean, again, like
ticked that she was moved.
As nice as that would be,
to the cushier president, it's like okay, well then move him back. Yeah,
and as strongly as I would advocate for that, I don't feel that that's the most important problem we have right now. Unfortunately, I wish that was the biggest problem we had right now. I wish.
I spent a lot of time over the weekend listening to kind of more MAGA right-wing podcast to hear. I was curious about their takes on the internecine feud at TPUSA, which we'll get to next. Yeah. But I was also kind of curious how they were covering Epstein, and even in MAGA world at this point, they feel very comfortable going after Bondi and Patel on this stuff. You know, like I was listening to
the First Amendment is also still in the books.
And they're like, you know, Patel wants us to believe you know, that they looked at the files and there's just nothing to see here, which is like totally unacceptable and preposterous. You know, Bondi, you know, like released those partial documents. It was such a clown show. She's such a clown. You know, she's so clownish. Then they have some other theories. You know, on one of the shows I was listening to, they're like, I refuse to believe that Donald Trump is covering this up because he wants to protect other people. That is not the Donald Trump we know and love.
Closer.
You know, so their theory was like, maybe they must be protecting intel.
0.5% different drop rate.
They're covering up something, right? And so that's the question to figure out. But I do think a lot of times the mainstream coverage feels much more comfortable if they have the cover of even Republicans are criticizing Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Todd Blanche over this, and so it's like it almost gives them permission.
Good old James Madison Greensway centuries later.
It's like
11 to 12 minutes ratified. Newest amendment is also oldest amendment. Funny enough. Nice.
Like Trump is all powerful, want to be autocrat, except when it comes to the management of a single prisoner and like the transparent release of files that he might be implicated in. Those are the only two times where Trump has actually no power, and he's at the mercy of, you know.
And he's just watching it, and if he doesn't like what's happening, he can't fix it, I guess. I mean, it's ironic. These are the big unitary executive guys. Their whole line is so everything goes to Trump. Every decision is Trump's. If he delegates them, they're still Trump's.
Oh
he can
my gosh, how many planets are in this place?
He can fire anyone. He can reverse some Federal Trade Commission decision.
This has a planet titled
anything.
These systems are labeled by planets A, B, C, D, so on and so forth.
You know, it's the head of the Department of
Prisons. If the planet doesn't have a specific name, and then the moon is like labeled 1, 2, 3, and then if the moon has its own smaller moon, it's like back to small A, B, C, D. This planet is like labeled A, B, C.
That's a lot of office beverage. You know, you don't want
implying there's over 20 something planets in the system. No freaking way. No way.
Talking about the parade of horribles, speaking at the Turning Point USA convention? You know,
Madison had a very deep understanding of the Constitution and of the Republic as a whole. The checks and balances system, especially as he talks about it later in life, is very thought out.
For me to do that, and that might be something you need this holiday season. Soul's wellness brand that believes feeling good should be fun and easy. Soul specializes in delicious hemp-derived THC and CBD products.
Given how appreciative you are of like the history of like our government, like how do you feel about a whole wing of the White House being torn down to build a ballroom?
On the couch, or do a little socializing with your neighbors. Bring on the holiday cheer and treat yourself or someone you love to Soul this season. Right now, Soul is offering my audience 30% off your entire order. Go to getsoul.com and use the code THEBULWARK. That's getsoul.com, promo code THEBULWARK for 30% off. All right, let's move on to what's happening in Arizona. We talked about this a little bit on Friday. This has been kind of ongoing over the weekend. The American Fest, the annual gathering of Turning Point USA organization. It spilled out into... I mean, I've gone to these I didn't go this year, which I slightly regret. But next year I'll be back, I guess. But I've been going for the last few years. And, you know, it's like anything. There's always dissent within a coalition where there are like little digs pushed back and forth. And a crooked Connor with this year, like I was on stage with Hassan Piker and Simone Sanders, and like we had some disagreements. And, you know, the people at The Atlantic wrote a story about disagreements within the, you know, anti-Trump coalition or whatever. But it was all, you know, there's just going to be disagreements about tactics and policy if you only have two parties in a country within a coalition. This was not disagreement about tactics and policy. This was like deeply personal attacks from the stage, going back and forth with basically the camps being like Ben Shapiro on one side and others arguing that, you know, they needed to throw out the bigots and the liars and the conspiracy theorists who are pushing conspiracies about Charlie's murder and conspiracies about, you know, the whole range of things, the French president's wife being a man, and, you know, the open anti-Semitism and white nationalism of Nick Fuentes and his group. So Shapiro's on one side, and then on the other side you have basically Bannon and Tucker arguing that, you know, we should let 1,000 flowers bloom, and that Ben is trying to take over the organization. So with those being the battle lines, J.D. Vance came to speak, to be the keynote speaker at the end, and I want to play for you.
I don't think it was tragic as Jefferson's screen has to be off, which was done later down.
By running his supporters through endless self-defeating purity tests. He says, make America great again because every American is invited. I didn't make a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform, and I don't really care if some people out there, I'm sure we'll have the fake news media, denounce me after this speech.
Yes.
But let me just say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited
or the fact that they...
So, Bill, I want your take on this, but first I have to fast-check the vice president about his supposed friend, Charlie Kirk. That's not true, actually. There's a lot of things you can critique Charlie Kirk about, but famously, he did not allow Nick Fuentes to come to those events, and there was big brouhaha over that.
Okay, I've never had my throat bother me this much before.
The would protest and try to create problems at Charlie Kirk's events.
And my daughter was sick.
Go through the record of Kirk being on stage when someone asked him questions.
She was like
about,
coughing, hacking the last couple days. I don't think.
He's like, no, that's not true.
I don't think this is the vape.
So I have many different red lines from Charlie Kirk, and he said a lot of nasty stuff. I would have drawn the line in a very different place than he did, but he did. Like banish people from going to his events. That's not true, what J.D. Vance says, and I think it's pretty telling that J.D. Vance refuses to pick a side between the avowed racists, the white nationalists that want to have influence in his movement, and those who are saying that, you know, no, actually there's some opinions that aren't acceptable even within MAGA.
You're stressing that by far the most important thing, which is
Vance
came down on one side, right? I mean, he'd been sort of straddling. I think there was a question about where he would be in this interesting debate, and I think maybe we discussed it a week or two ago.
I didn't even know about that.
To be obviously Trump's successor, and
I didn't even know about that.
Annoy any
Huh.
of the most extreme elements, the conspiracists and stuff.
That's
On
the
other
first
hand,
I've heard about that.
He kind of wants to keep the support of some of the normie Republicans, the business types, the billionaires, blah blah blah, and those guys allegedly. They probably
Gotta
do have some
remember,
red lines, and therefore he's got
this administration does
You know
not
what?
care
His calculation is
unless it
that it's the
either
crazy
makes them money
conspiracists and bigots
or
who
makes
matter,
them look better.
that the billionaires will go along.
Like
He doesn't
physically.
have to draw any lines.
You know what I mean?
That's very striking to me. He's
Not
a stupid
ideologically.
guy, and he's
They
making
don't care if they look good
calculations
ideologically.
here. And the calculation
They just
he
care if it
has
looks
as
pretty
someone who
physically.
Probably more than any other
The rumors
citizen
still be in
being
the
America
foundation of
is
the building,
thinking
but after
24
so many
hours a day,
renovations, we
7
don't
days
know.
a week about the right-wing coalition that he hopes to take forward. Literally, nothing is beyond the pale. I mean, I first heard of Fuentes, I think, when Charlie Kirk banned him or wouldn't let him. Yeah. I mean, so it shows how far it's got in just a few years.
Have you seen the
So he's not, again, he's not bad.
the updated placards
one of many
that the administration
people
put on the wall
operating in this ecosphere.
on the
He's
walls
vice
for the
president of United States.
former
I
presidents?
really actually don't. Has any vice president ever said anything like this even? I mean, it's like
Agnew probably.
Yeah, Agnew. But the Agnew probably had to.
Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, well, that's true. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, these are literally neo-Nazis. Also, we're not talking about people who said a couple of,
What did they
indecorous
put?
things. Or maybe they have some background. 30 years ago, they said that when they were 19 years old. We're talking
Have
about
you
just
have you
flat
read
out
any of
neo-Nazis
Trump's
who
Truth
have
Social
been
posts?
Very much on this, and I've been studying
Like, have you ever seen them pop up?
the growth of the
Have you ever heard people talking about them? Have you ever seen them, like, actually read them?
occasional bigotry,
Or
if I
had
call it
them
that,
read
but
to you?
deep-seated bigotry and racism.
Huh? Oh my gosh,
Of
you,
various kinds on the right, and it's gross.
you
among
sweet
especially
summer
younger
child.
people, unfortunately, on the right, and that's where Vance thinks the
You
future of
poor,
the right is, I
you
guess.
poor naive
Nick
soul.
Fuentes called his wife a
Give me a
Jew.
second.
Again, not 10 years ago. we
Basically,
remember Trumper, like the other day. Here he is.
it looked like he put one of his Truth Social posts underneath Obama's photo.
We don't want to deplatform. Also,
Give me a second.
it's
Let
not-
me.
criticizing somebody is not deplatforming.
Let me,
Also, you know what I mean? Like, Ben Shapiro going up there and saying
Actually, I can
these
find it
people
now.
are wrong. They are espousing conspiracy theories that are not true. You know, the Jews and French legionnaires did not kill Charlie Kirk, and it's important in a free society for us to at least be able to understand what is true and what is false if we're going to make decisions about our self-government. Like, that isn't cancel culture, deplatforming. It's criticizing. The fact that JD Vance won't even criticize them from stage is like pretty noteworthy. And you remember, were you at the '96 convention with Joel?
Yeah.
I just pulled this up, right? Joel,
I remember that.
It's not like this is a new thing that there's some racist cranks on the
I
this is always been a
I'm
thing,
going to
waxes and
find.
wanes and as much
Obviously,
in level
the
of
stuff I
influence,
listen
but
to
Joel
on
96, I just pulled this up real
YouTube
fast.
is pretty
If there's anyone
pretty
who's
biased
mistakenly
against Trump
attached themselves
because,
to our
well,
party and believe
let's
we're
face
not
it, I
open
am
to
biased
citizens of
against
every
Trump.
race and religion, then let
So, I am trying to find the most sane-washed response to his plaques as possible. You know what I mean? That is kind of funny, but wrong. Yeah, here we go. ABC News. The Guardian's really left-wing. I guess ABC is center-left. Fox News didn't even cover it, by the way, so that should tell you something. Alright, give me a second here. Come on, come on. There we go, there we go. Up, up, up. There we go. Alright, Trump hangs plaque mocking Biden, Obama. Long White House colonnade. Alright, so yeah, see, blah, pictures, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is kind of funny. Well, so when I was googling the titles, like, most of them were like, Trump puts abhorrent or like vulgar. You know what I mean? Like, food's ready. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. So yeah, most of the titles were along that line, like abhorrent, basically stating how I legitimately feel about it. And this title is one of the most sane-washed. It's probably the most sane-washed title out of the group. Trump hangs plaque mocking Biden along White House. Like, that is so like non-confrontational. It makes me sick because like what he put is so like that ridiculous. Okay, hold on. So yeah, you're familiar with the Presidential Walk of Fame, Portrait Gallery. Get out of here. Trump's most recent predecessor's plaques read the most editorialized. The permanent signs are stylistically similar to the president's social media posts. I literally just said that. With sporadic capitalizations. You know how he likes to use he exercises a liberal use of capitalizations in his social media posts. The plaque includes claims such as Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history, adding that he took office as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen in the United States. Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation on the brink of destruction. See? That's for Biden. Hamas terrorists launched the heinous October 7th attack on Israel. Like, not at all of pointed at all. What? That didn't make sense. I think sarcasm. I want to see what they were. Oh, here's the one for Obama. Barack Hussein Obama, because he has to have that to throw that Hussein. He has to. Like, he can't stop himself. Barack Hussein Obama was the first black president, a community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. Like, bro, like, now you're just projecting. Now you're just projecting. Not at all of a pointed... Oh, had a stroke. Obama's plaque ends with a more false claim that he spied on the 2016 presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump and presided over the creation of the Russia. Oh my God. Like, this is... We elected clowns. We elected clowns. Like... Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yeah. There's that.
Let me remind you, tonight this all belongs to the party of Lincoln, and the exits, which are clearly marked, are for you to walk out of. As I stand
anyway, I'm gonna...
without compromise.
Pretty sure the spying thing was true,
so, it's not as if
but there's no...
precedent
Oh, there actually was
for
evidence of the Russia thing.
Somebody,
there actually was.
Position of authority, going up there and saying, sorry, like, there are lines here, and we
and
don't
not that they...
and bigots. And J.D. Vance...
Not that they...
The literal opposite.
Like, they didn't directly interfere. My understanding was that it's not like they had access to our vote counting, like our vote counting. You know, they didn't have like Russian spies counting the vote of Obama creating. No, he didn't create the Russian thing. No, read the Mueller report. It's the MEULLER report, Mueller report. I think he was the Attorney General or something for Trump's first administration. But Trump's own appointee issued the Mueller report, which showed that Russian actors
will there be a reaction? He's getting slapped on the wrist maybe a little bit by the National Review and Wall Street Journal types, but I mean, the Vance thing should itself be a red line.
Trying to think of how to explain it. They didn't directly like influence the election itself, but they spent a ridiculous amount of money, like as a psyop, like to influence people, especially through social media, right? That's what they mean by they influence the election. So it has to be, when you hear like Fox News talk about it, they make it sound like Russia was taking our ballots and like throwing ballots out. And that's not what happened. It's the fact that they spent a ridiculous amount of money and like technology. Like who do you think like Like they
said,
were
"We are
legitimately
gonna
trying
elect
to
you
hack
president
into
48
candidates
in 2028." She's
into
the one that
candidates
they're doing
like
conspiracy theories
computers and
about,
stuff,
right?
phones.
You know, because she knows. Right? That, like, okay, well, if he's the
They were
heir
trying
apparent, then
to
I wanna take
they were
over
trying
my
to
late
spending money on
husband's
like
organization.
social media
I can't be on
campaigns
the wrong side of it. We
to
already know
influence
that everybody will fold
voters'
him, and
decisions.
that's why, you know,
So that's
you
what
wanna
it means
have
when they were
people with
they
some integrity
influenced the
running
election,
these sorts
right?
of organizations, so that you can like ensure that in the future, like things will be different than under Trump, and frankly, it just seems like the opposite. Here's just another thing to say.
Oh man, you
Trump also
contributed
had
just in
red
time
lines
for
the
me
idea that
to
everybody was welcomed at the
log out of
banquet
here and go
table.
eat dinner,
It's crazy. I mean, Trump
and
was
then
calling Marjorie Taylor
take a
Greene
shower,
traitor,
probably
like,
go to
3
bed
days
because I'm
ago
freaking tired.
because, you know, she was criticizing him. It's just there were red lines. There have been red lines the last 10 years.
I hope I'm not
There's
getting
been
sick. I really hope I'm not getting sick.
deplatforming from MAGA circles. There's been ostracizing
I've been
people.
like,
It's just like the thing that you
my
can do to get
one of my
ostracized
daughters has been
wasn't
like coughing
saying something
everywhere,
anti-Semitic,
and I've
it
been
was saying
purposely
something mean about Donald Trump,
keeping my
right?
distance.
And if you did, you were out.
I don't think
you
it
can
worked.
Just look at any list of conservatives
anyway.
that got kicked out of the MAGA coalition.
Anyway, yeah. If you actually want, the legitimate report on the influence that Russia had on the election, then read the Mueller report, because that was like, that's what was presented in front of Congress during like the congressional committees. Okay, you know, that was like, you know, they people got sworn in, whatever, and it was this investigation was led by a Trump appointee, right? So it was actually Robert Mueller was actually a like during the Trump term, he made a lot of his appointees were based on, you know, qualifications instead of loyalty, that like this time around. So even though there were some pretty hardcore Republicans in that first term, they still were not Trump loyalists, you know what I mean? So yeah, check it out. That's called the Mueller report. There was an investigation, and there was evidence that Russia made significant they tried really hard to influence the election. They spent a significant amount of finances to do so. But all right, I'm outie. I will try to be back on tomorrow. I should be back on tomorrow. We'll see. Anyway, till next time. You have a good one, man.